The Rob Brown Show.
Pal.
Only.
The fan upstate.
And thank you, Matthew. And off we go, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It's the fan upstate. Howdy, y'all. Welcome in. Happy Tuesday. What a day.
Notice the hesitation there. You weren't sure what day.
I really had to verify. I think that I'm back to normal. I think that I'm all caught up on life. I think we're mostly back.
Nope.
Mostly back. Not entirely back. But I think we're mostly back. And that's good news. Because 48 hours from now, we will be talking about 13 hours from now. 48 hours from now, at 6:01 a.m. on Thursday, we will open the show by loudly, boisterously, with great joy and enthusiasm, saying, "It's football day." It is a day we have been waiting for a very, 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 very long time, people.
I don't know. I felt like the offseason was only about a month long.
There's been a lot of times recently where I have expressed sentiment of things being this and that at the same time, simultaneously. There have been spots where I have had this reaction of like, I'm both this and that. There was a conversation I had the other day where a buddy of mine and I, well, there's like a group of us of the old frat bros that have a group thread together. And a couple of us are Braves fans in the chat. And this chat is regularly just dudes being dudes, right? It's just bros being bros. We send everything from gross to awesome and all points in between, back and forth between each other. And the other day, we got into this kick of sending each other like our favorite sports memories. We were all pulling like from Twitter and Instagram and whatnot. We were all pulling our favorite sports memories and just dropping them in the chat. And one of my buddies sent me the home run that was hit by Freddie Freeman in the playoffs last year in the run-up to the World Series, and said he's a buddy of mine from college, but he actually came to Florida from California. He's a Dodgers guy. And he's like, Rob Brown, thanks for Freddie Freeman. And I had this like visceral reaction to it because on one hand, it was a great moment for Freddie Freeman. On one hand, it was a great moment for baseball fans. That was a moment that even though I, as a Braves fan, was very sad that Frederick Freeman was no longer Atlanta Braves legend, but in that moment, we all knew he became a Dodger. Like, he's a Dodger. He's not ours anymore. I got to imagine there's a moment in the life of every parent, like one pivotal moment that you recognize that's not my little boy anymore. That's not my little girl anymore. Like, this is a person now. They have their own thing. They do their own thing. They are their own person now. And that was that moment for me with Freddie Freeman. I'm like, he's not a Brave anymore. He's a Dodger now. He's all grown up. He's a big boy now. And I said to my buddy, I am simultaneously both elated for Freddie Freeman and also absolutely miserable watching him do this for another team. That was the spot I was in. When it comes to this offseason, it was somehow great one simultaneously, years long, and also it started yesterday.
You know what it is? When we started the countdown, you have this many weeks until then it seemed to zoom by.
That's probably fair.
Because it was within reach, and then things started to accelerate, at least for me.
That's probably fair. Like I kind of feel like it's when vacation's on the docket, right? My next vacation, I take that back. Middle of August, I'm taking I think a Thursday and a Friday off to go to Charleston. With the wife, we're going to hang out. The sister-in-law's having her new baby, and she and I are using that as an excuse to go to a bunch of dive bars in Charleston. We're like, oh yeah, we're totally coming to see the baby.
Confirmation about that later.
Yeah, no, I have it for you. I'll be putting in for it today.
Okay,
that's official. But we're like,
just because I've been here forever and I got floater days. I got an extra week of vacation.
Well, I got two of them for you.
Okay, cool.
So the sister-in-law's having a baby. We're getting a new niece and or nephew, and the wife was like, "Do you want to go over to Charleston for when the sister-in-law has the baby?" And I was like, if you want to go, I'll go with you. If you want to go, sure, I'm in. But like, nah. Like I'll tell you, and it's not that I don't want to be supportive because I do, but what I don't want to do is drive to Charleston, sit in a hotel room for use 3 days off to sit in a hotel room and do nothing. But just be like, all right, good job on the baby. Good job. I can only say that because none of them are listening and the wife's still asleep.
This sounds really negative
snitch.
right
Don't
now.
snitch.
Yeah,
it's not meant to be negative. It's just like Rob Brown,
has made a thing that's about someone else about you.
No, it's not. It's just I can't do anything. I'm not going. There's no. All I'm doing is taking up space in the room. I can't do anything to help.
Take your Xbox.
Well, why go? Right? Like that's the same as not going.
No,
it is 100%.
Because you can be there for the moment after the baby is born,
and then what? Go back,
supportive,
go back to the hotel room
and play Xbox.
Yes. Yeah, I just might as well not go and save my 2 vacation days for our vacation.
This is a falsehood. You never go anywhere and just stay in a hotel.
Correct.
Ever in your entire life.
But let's also keep it a buck. If we go over there, the wife's in the hotel room or in the hospital room the whole time, and Rob Brown's out drinking down all the liquor in Charleston. That's probably worse than not going. But, blah, 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 put that aside. We're going over to the Charleston for the weekend, and the wife says to me last night, she's like, yeah, we're going to go. We're going to meet the baby. But also there's like 4 or 5 really cool bars that I want to go see, and I want to go to Folly Beach and spend a couple of days in the sun. And I'm like, oh, so you want to go on vacation. We're using the baby as an excuse.
Told you it was a falsehood. You never intended to stay in the room.
Oh, no, for sure. But again, I want to point it out. That's her idea. It's not Rob Brown. Rob Brown's not the guy that's like, hey, let's go to Charleston while your sister's having a baby, and let's you and me sit on the beach and drink a bunch of margaritas all day. That's her call. I'm good with her call if it's her call. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Point is, when you have vacation on the schedule, or when it's months and months out, you're not thinking about it. I'm not thinking about that. Like, I'm not thinking about going to Charleston. That's still 3 weeks away? Or 2 weeks away?
Well, you're different than me because when I schedule that vacation, I'm counting down the days. Oh, I cannot wait to turn the radio off.
Nah, I don't. Like if we're months
But you also
out,
are on every single show created by man.
I also do work 6 days a week and regularly do 1 or 2 interviews on Sundays. That vacation, that even like 2 weeks away, that vacation is not, it's not registering for me because it's so far out and I got a gazillion things to do between here and there. But that week, when I'm off Thursday, Friday, that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is going to be the longest 3 days in existence. It's just going to be like, God, because you got to do your job and but you don't want to, but you got to whatever.
Why don't you go ahead and take Wednesday off too?
Because I also want to save up some days for the end of the year when I go on my real vacation. My big vacation.
How many weeks do you get?
3. and I've used 1 day so far. So I'm going to save him.
Well, let's not take a month
I had a Rob Brown in like December. I'm just out December.
Yeah, let's not do that because then there's no show ever after that. Yeah, you don't. Yeah.
When we get close to vacation, the days drag along, and I kind of feel like that's this year's football off season. When it was April, May, June, I wasn't really thinking about it. Sports was giving us plenty of other stuff. We had a great NBA season. We had a great hockey season, Stanley Cup NBA Finals. Then we had opening day in baseball. Baseball season has, except for the Braves, baseball season's actually been a lot of fun this year. It's a very compelling year. Great year for parity. The team we thought was going to run away with it all, the LA Dodgers, they're not doing that. The Houston Astros, who I thought we were going to be finally tap dancing on their grade this year, they're in the driver's seat of their division, right? Like, it's a great baseball season. I've been locked in on that. We've got the WNBA going on right now. Cameron Brink coming back tonight. 13 months on the IL with the torn ACL, making her return to the LA Sparks tonight. I will be locked in. Can't wait. Like, it's been a great WNBA season. We've had a million things going on. But 2 weeks ago, when we were sitting in SEC Media Days, and I can tell you exactly when the moment was for me. 2 weeks ago, we were sitting on, I guess 2 weeks and a day ago, Monday, we were sitting in the College Football Hall of Fame. And I already had my moment where I walked in and I saw the helmet wall and I saw the exhibit and I got all up in the college football, but I got in the mood for college football. And then we started the show, and about an hour 15, hour and a half into the show, I looked down the hallway and into the long hallway I was broadcasting from. Walk Shane Beamer, Lenora Sellers. They're all suited and tied. And people were just starting to gather around him. And for whatever moment, that was the moment that was like, oh, we're here. We're here. And ever since then, 2 weeks ago, time has just been like tick, tick, tick. And that's where I am with Thursday now. And I know it's just a preseason game. And I know many of y'all don't care. And I know many of you are like, who gives a damn, Rob? It's just a preseason game. It doesn't count, whatever. I do. I'm pumped about it. I'm all in. I've told you, I've made the argument. At this point, if I haven't won you over to preseason football, I don't know what to tell you. It's fantastic. It's my favorite. It is the most passionate, raw version of NFL football you're going to get, because there's dudes out there fighting for their jobs, fighting for their careers. That just is what it is. So between now and Thursday, again, like, it feels like it is forever away to me at this point. But we're going to hang in there. We're going to make it. We're going to get there. 48 hours from now, 47 hours and 45 minutes from now, when the show opens up Thursday, we're just going to say together, it's football season. And I can't wait. All right, we got a lot to talk about today. What is happening to I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
And excitement will do that.
That's what it is. It is adrenaline. All right. I am going to be a
professional. Is it in
professional.
your soul?
Every thought's out of control. I am going to slow my roll here a little bit. I'm going to rein it back in a little bit. I mimed that for those of you not watching the stream, which you should. Facebook.com/fan. It was pretty good too.
Yeah, you need to work on your mind. It needs to be there. That's better.
I forgot you got to pull the rope with two hands.
because I see the rope that time.
I am going to slow my roll. I am going to rein it back in a little bit. We're gonna chill. All right? Because even though we are excited, and we are, even though it is incredible to be here, and it is, we do still have a little bit less than 60 hours until we all sit down together on Thursday and we watch a little bit of NFL preseason football. So today, we are going to talk more football. Yesterday, we gave you our ceiling and floor predictions and prognostications for the Carolina Panthers, the Atlanta Falcons, the New Orleans Saints, my team, the Kansas City Chiefs, Lonzo's team. Today, I would like to continue that discussion, and I would like to continue that discussion with the other teams in the league, specifically those teams that are Super Bowl contenders this year, and specifically those teams that are number one overall draft pick contenders this year. I would like to continue the discussion about the teams that y'all think are in the hunt and the teams that are completely not in the hunt at all or already out of the hunt. I would like to talk about the teams that have already been eliminated from the 2025 NFL playoffs. Don't get offended. Mine's one of them. Relax. So we're going to get to that today on the show. I also, here in just a few minutes, would like to talk a little Carolina Panther training camp. One particular story that seems to be bubbling to the forefront a little bit. Because something is happening right now. Something is happening right now in Carolina Panther camp. And that something is something that a lot of people are pretty excited about, including Dave Canales. And that something right now has me feeling a lot better about the Cats making it to my ceiling pick of 10-7, Lonzo's of 9-8, than being closer to our floor picks. And I am going to say, before we get to that story coming up here in just a few moments right now, if it works out, and if the thing happening in Charlotte right now, that's got all of the folks in Charlotte right now super duper excited about what's happening in Charlotte right now, if it works out, and if it is a reason that the Carolina Panthers get to the expectations this year, Carolina Panther fans, you may have Dabo Swinney to thank for it. Carolina Panther fans may be singing songs of gratitude and gratefulness to Dabo Swinney if this team wins the division this year. Because a thing he did may be the reason that they get there. I'm going to tell you what that is when we come back here in just a moment. We're going to talk about the thing that Dabo did that may very well push the Carolina Panthers to their expectations, coming up next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Zach, good morning. Joe, what time do you go in, Zach? I got to do a segment here, but I'll get a brief Ravens segment in there. Y'all stay right there. We'll be right back. Oh, Joby B, I don't love that for you, buddy. Hopefully, I love it less for your coworkers, but I don't love that for you at all. Call me if you need a dive bar session tonight, bud. The Carolina Panthers have lofty expectations this year. Lofty being close in on 8-9, 9-8. Like a 200% increase.
This should not be lofty. I mean, that's...
It shouldn't be, but based on what they've been the last 2 decades, it is. And not 2 decades, but you get the point. What feels like 2 decades to many of you, I am very sure.
Well, every other year under Ron, they had winning seasons.
Sure thing. We're going to talk about Ron Rivera. He dropped a fun clip earlier. We're gonna get to. So the lofty expectations of the Carolina Panthers will be met if and only if a number of factors. One of those factors is, of course, if the momentum built by Bryce Young in the back half of last year continues. That is something that I assume all Panthers fans are optimistic about. I don't see why you would not be. But, of course, in order for Bryce Young to be able to continue the momentum that he built in the back half of last year, he will have to have dudes to throw the football to. We know that they drafted Tetairoa McMillan. We've seen him in camp. The dude looks like a freak. We know that Xavier Legette is probably the NFL's national treasure right now. Find me a dude or a gal who don't love XL. It's impossible. The dude is impossible not to love.
Oh, man, I really over that.
Absolute GOAT. You have Adam Thielen, who has been, in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion, dramatically overperforming the last couple of years, not as a wide receiver, but as a primary, as an X, as a wide receiver 1, as the go-to dude. That's not his position, and yet he's been living up to the hype. I think he'll be even better, able to shift back into spot number 3. But there is an X factor that has developed in Charlotte, North Carolina. There is a variable that is developed in Charlotte, North Carolina. And Nick Carboni of WCNC Charlotte laid it out in detail.
But I think the best story in Panthers training camp so far, and by next week we could be talking about it as the best story in NFL training camp, is Hunter Renfrow. He was a walk-on at Clemson, ended up being a big part of the Tigers team, won a national championship, got drafted, played for the Raiders, went to a Pro Bowl, mysteriously was absent from the NFL last year. Turns out he had ulcerative colitis. It was an illness that really hit him hard. He was working a 9-to-5 job. He was out of football as he tried to figure himself out medically. The Panthers signed him this offseason. Well, now here in training camp, Coach Dave Canales has been really impressed with Renfrow. He is a big name that stands out in a more crowded wide receiver room right now. So I think we do have some of that Coach Canales sound talking about Renfrow and really giving credence to what we're all seeing, that he does look a lot better, and he almost looks like he did a couple years ago.
I mean, it's just the Hunter Renfrow I remember. So he looks healthy. I mean, I think, everyone who's watched football over the last, 4 or 5 years remembers what he looks like, and he's really playing at top form right now.
Hunter Renfrow is in complete beast mode at camp right now. And I've seen a number of clips with the acknowledgement that clips coming out from training camp, they're one of two things. They're either the absolute worst things that are happening at camp right now. Chicago Bears fans are witnessing that in real time. Or they are the absolute best things coming out of camp because it's propaganda. However, I've seen enough clips of Hunter Renfrow to know that right now, the dude's got it. The routes are as good as they've ever looked. I am watching BY hit this cat coming out of cuts in stride. The guy's hands look as soft catching the ball as they ever have. Hunter Renfrow looks like a beast right now. And I'm going to tell you, we've talked about how different offenses in the NFL have their thing that makes them unique. We have talked a little bit about the Bears. already had Cole Kmet, an absolute stud, and then they went and spent an early draft pick on another tight end. And I said, what are we doing here? But then I really kind of started thinking about Ben Johnson's offense and the way that they leaned heavy on the tight end in Detroit. And I went, actually, that could create some matchup nightmares, right? Like you usually have your linebacker that's responsible for tight end coverage. Now I'm lining up two outstanding tight ends on both sides of the football. Who are you matching up with the other guy? Regardless of which of the other guys you determine is the other guy, every offense is going to have that interesting thing. How about the Carolinas having two Adam Thielens? Or maybe having two Hunter Renfros? Or maybe having an Adam Thielen and a Hunter Renfro? The options on the offense with Dave Canales here become tantalizing to me. And that's not a word I use very often because it's got a lot of syllables to it. Dave Canales and his ability to use those two guys feels like it could be incredible. I've got Adam Thielen, who, as we have broken down on film many times since he showed up in Carolina. The most outstanding talent of Adam Thielen is a feel for coverage. Adam Thielen does not have routes to run. Adam Thielen has areas of the field to run to. On this play, with your outside wide receiver running this, here's what we think is most likely to happen. So, Thielen, we want you to go to this spot on the field and just find the spot. Sit down in the gap in coverage and let Bryce Young find you. And Adam Thielen's spectacular at that. Hunter Renfro is not the fastest guy in the game, not the biggest guy in the game, but he is one of the cleanest route runners in the game. He is one of the quickest breaks out of the cut in the game. He is a dude that understands how to get a CB to sink into coverage and get the hips turned. And when the hips get turned, he is as good, if not better, than anybody else in the league at getting the opposite foot planted, cutting against the hips of the DB that have been turned, and getting into that spot. Now I've got a monster receiver in Teteroa McMillan. I've got the wild card in Xavier Legette. And yes, XL struggled with the drops. Nobody's going to argue that. But I've got the wild card in XL, who, again, propaganda, but I've seen the clips of this dude this offseason. He is bigger and more cut, and he appears to be faster than his rookie year. And number two, I've seen the video of the coaches firing footballs at about 1,000 miles an hour out of the jugs machine and watching XL just boom, catch, boom, catch, boom, catch. He's worked on the hands. I'm not saying it's going to translate when we get onto the football field and when he's got a DB in his face and he's got hands up between him and the ball. I hope it does. Again, we're all pulling for Xavier Legette. I hope he becomes a stud. Carolina Panther fans, you should as well. Because with Thielen being the guy who understands how to find the spot and get there, Hunter Renfro being the guy that understands how to use his body to manipulate a defensive back's body and take advantage of that, between Tet McMillan, a guy that you can just get it within, I don't know, the range of a school bus in any direction and he'll catch it, and with the wild card XL, you have all of the sudden developed a pretty damn good wide receiver room. And we haven't even talked about some of the other young guys like Jimmy Horn that could break out. We'll see. But the best part about this story to me is that Hunter Renfro did not know if he was coming back after he had that bout with illness that took him out of the league and basically got him to a point where he was just a regular dude. Dabo Swinney said a couple of days ago that he talked to Hunter Renfro and he tried to say, hey, man, find your joy. Get your joy back. Go back to loving football. He said Hunter Renfro is the definition of a dude who plays for the love of the game. Was never the biggest, was never the fastest, was never the strongest. But he recognized what he had to do to succeed, and he did it every time. And he took joy. He took pleasure in that. And Dabo said, clearly after his illness, he kind of lost that joy. He lost that happiness. He lost that love of the game. And Dabo said, I tried to tell him, get it back. Like, go back and play. You love this stuff. Go back and play. Well, yesterday at camp, Hunter Renfrow said that the conversation with Dabo Swinney is what made him want to come back. He said, we played some golf. We talked about it. He made me realize that I love this and I want to keep doing it. And that's what made me want to come back. And then when it was time to come back, Hunter Renfrow said, I told my agent, I'll come back if you can get me on the Carolina Panther roster. Why? Because that offense is tailor-made for a guy like Hunter Renfrow. Bryce Young is not a big-time deep ball quarterback. He's got it in the bag, but it's not a thing he leans on. Bryce Young is a quarterback who is looking for underneath stuff. He is looking for crisp routes into the right places because Bryce Young as a quarterback, as I've been telling you for 2 years, Bryce Young is a quarterback whose success is based on seeing a defense, watching what they do for the first second after the snap, being able to predict who's going where and know what spots are available, and then figuring out what wide receivers are going into that spot. That's Adam Thielen and Hunter Renfrow. That is what they do. And so this basically leads me to the conclusion that if Hunter Renfrow makes this roster, and from the folks I've talked to in Charlotte, he's going to. He is not standing out at camp. He's killing it right now. He might be the best looking wide receiver on the field at camp right now. So if he makes this roster and he does contribute to this offense, what I think he certainly got the potential to contribute to this offense just got better. My ceiling prediction for Carolina of 10-7 was a prediction that I made with Tedoroa McMillan, Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen, and then like some dudes when they decide to go to a 5-wide and have a 4th wide receiver on the field. Some dudes. Turns out that 4th dude is Hunter Renfrow. If this team lives up to expectations and maybe surpasses them, it will be because of Hunter Renfrow. And if this team lives up to expectations, surpasses them, and it's because of Hunter Renfrow, according to Hunter Renfrow, it's because of Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney gets a lot of credit for the dude that he is. He gets a lot of credit for the coach that he is, the person that he is, and he gets a lot of credit for all the things that Clemson has accomplished during his time. But if the Carolina Panthers win the NFC South this year, and I've got a ticket out on them doing exactly that, Dabo Swinney might get a little credit for that too. Because I think Hunter Renfrow, from what we've seen, and again, camp film is all propaganda. But from what I have seen so far, Hunter Renfrow looks like, I don't know, Hunter Renfrow in his prime. He is exactly what Bryce Young needs. He is an absolute asset to the way that Dave Canales likes to call an offense and Bryce Young likes to run an offense. He fits perfectly opposite Adam Thielen. I got a zone guy, and now I got a crisp route guy. I am in love with this story. I am in love with Hunter's doing. I am in love with what the Panthers are doing. And if he is a stud this year, and if it elevates Carolina to win the first division title in a real long time, y'all got a thank you note and an edible arrangement in the mail to Dabo Swinney the day after conference championships are handed out. That's where I'm coming from. Back after this on The Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
NASCAR back in action Sunday racing at the Iowa Speedway. It's the Iowa Corn 350. 3
I have to take a note, guys. I'm not ignoring you. Hold, please. Okay. Renfro. Renfro is Rex Ryan's favorite player because he's got the best feet in the league. The video that sent me down the rabbit hole of looking at the rest of the videos, Joey B, was a route from Renfro, and I think he had J.C. Horn on him in coverage. And it was kind of a 5 in and out. So it was 5 yards, cut in, get the DB forced that way, and then cut back the other way. And when I tell you, this dude in the video, he gets to 5, he sinks the outside foot to cut in, and he sells it. And I think it was JC. JC gets, because when you're a DB, like if you're a wide receiver, when that DB's hips turn, in whichever way, when those hips open up, that you win or you lose on that next step. Like you win or you lose based on if you can beat that. And so when JC turns those hips to the inside, I think it's JC. When those hips turn to the inside, Renfro, who is he's turned to the inside as well. He's cut off the inside foot. He gets the chest to BY. JC cuts in, because if that's an in route, he's jumping the route. And when JC's hips open up to the inside, Renfro's body sinks to the ground. I mean, like he's on the ground. And off that same, he cuts off the end, gets in, and off that same foot, 180 degrees back the other way. Left the DB absolutely dusted. And BY just flips it out to the outside. When I saw that, I'm like, that's the route of a short white dude that can play in the NFL for a very long time. Because that's all he's done his whole career. There's been film on him, and he is still punking cats with the outside to inside, get the hips turn, inside to outside cut. It was cut out. It was unbelievable. I would be impressed with that cut if he was doing it in Atlanta. That's how good it was. When I was a Ute growing up in the mean streets of Shalimar, Florida, when I was a Ute...
mean streets of the golf course. Yeah. Just, like one street and in the backyard.
Hey, we had some mean streets.
To dodge errant golf balls? Was that what made them mean?
We had some mean streets in the neighborhood wrapped around the Shalimar Point Golf and Country Club. All right? There was a kid down at the end of my street named Jared. Jared was I almost said a bad word. Jared was a bad guy.
Wasn't Jared Fogle, was it? Because that's a totally different kind of bad guy.
Nope. Jared, and I shan't say last name because he's still big in that community, and I know that there are some folks from back in the Panhandle that still check in on the show. So I'm not going to give it away. But I got a feeling anybody that knows Jared, because Jared was he was my bad guy in the 80s movie About My Life. You know what I'm talking about? Like the guy with the feathered, textured hair.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
That guy.
Because I lived in the 80s.
Yeah.
And actually had bad guys.
Yeah,
So
he was my bad guy. I've never been in a fist fight. I have been in a throw that dude on the ground, put him in a chokehold, and just hang on fight, and it was
Okay.
with Jared.
that's news.
Yeah, I mean,
Hadn't
we
heard
didn't.
that one.
I never punched. I didn't get punched. He tried to, missed,
When you say
wrapped him up, took him
chokehold,
down.
was a side.
No, it's straight up from behind sleeper. Like
Wow.
I was like 13. Couldn't stand the kid. We had some mean streets in the Shalimar Point Golf and Country Club neighborhood. Okay. When I was a kid growing up in this part's where I'm actually serious. When I was a kid growing up, back in the day, when the little brother and I, during baseball season, would get off the bus, it was a race home after school. Because if there were 2 day games, the Atlanta Braves were on TNT every game, and the Chicago Cubs were on WGN every day. I don't know why we got WGN in the Florida Panhandle.
Everyone got WGN.
Was that like a national
Yeah,
thing?
because I had it too.
So
yeah.
I don't know who set up that TV station in Chicago, Illinois, but like it was a national TV station. So at the time, and what at this point, and I mean this, I believe this to be a golden age in America. The Braves were on TNT every day. The Cubs were on WGN. And in the summer time, if both teams had a day game, it was a race home from the bus stop between the little brother and I, because whoever got there first, sorry, TBS, I keep saying TNT. You know what I meant. Good call. Thank you, Texter. TBS, not TNT. It was a race home because whoever got home first and got to the downstairs big TV, back when TVs were like the size of a refrigerator, you know? Whoever got there first and got their book bag on the coffee table in the living room and got the remote could put their baseball game on the big TV while we did our homework. And whoever got there second had to go upstairs to dad's office, computer, playroom, whatever it was, and you got to watch it on the little TV. So that was years of our lives. Was the Braves are playing. Yeah, well, the Cubs are playing. Well, I get the big team. No, you get the big. No, you get the. When those two teams were not playing at the same time, whoever's team was playing, because we were both big baseball dudes, whoever's team was playing, we'd watch their game. And in the early 90s, my brother was born in 1988. He was a handful of years behind me. So in the early 90s to mid 90s, my mom, who from Louisiana but was actually born in Chicago, kind of a military thing. My mom spent a lot of time in Chicago, and that's why my brother was a Bulls fan and Cubs fan growing up, because Big Brother Rob was already a Saints fan and a Braves fan, and he had to be the little rebel of the family. Still is, but he's also a lawyer, so like maybe I'm the one that screwed up. So in the mid 90s, when the little brother was watching the Cubs game, there was a cat playing for the Cubs by the name of Ryne Sandberg. And Sandberg was one of those players that even if he doesn't play for your team, Ryne Sandberg was one of those players that even if he played for a rival, you still respect him. You still love him. Ryne Sandberg passed away yesterday at 65 years of age. He had a bout with cancer. Last fall, he announced on social media that he was cancer-free. Back in December of last year, he announced that the cancer had returned and that it had spread to other organs of his body, and that effectively he was on a pitch clock, and that he was dedicated to spending the last however much time he had with his friends and his family and making the most of it. Ryne Sandberg passed away yesterday after that bout with cancer. I grew up watching Ryne Sandberg. I grew up watching the Cubs because the brother and the mom were Cubs guys. Mom wasn't really a Cubs guy so much as little brother was a Cubs guy and big brother was a Braves guy. And so mom was a Cubs guy so that little brother didn't have to get bullied by big brother all the time. But I grew up watching the Cubs because the little brother was a Cubs guy. And while the majority of Ryne Sandberg's career was kind of when Rob and little brother were coming online as people, as baseball fans who appreciated the game as more than just let's go have a catch in the backyard, Ryne Sandberg was tailing kind of towards the end of his career. However, I remember watching Ryne Sandberg at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And I remember knowing that's a dude who plays the game the right way. And I'm not talking about not having a personality, because Ryne Sandberg was a personality, but he wasn't a huge personality, right? He wasn't Ken Griffey Jr. He wasn't a huge personality, but he didn't need to be because he played the game the right way. Ryne Sandberg was a guy who was about the game of baseball. He was about team before dude. He was about plate discipline. He was about field discipline. Ryne Sandberg held for a very long time a major league record of playing 123 consecutive games at second base without a single error. 120. I want you to think for a second. Have you ever gone 123 days at work without making a mistake? I don't think I go 123 minutes at work without making a mistake. Ryne Sandberg went 123 games. Ryne Sandberg was a dude that could hit dongs. He had a couple of 40 home run seasons. But Ryne Sandberg was never a home run first guy. Ryne Sandberg is a dude that players of today could learn a lot from. Because Ryne Sandberg's entire mentality was, I'm going to hit whatever baseball is best for the Chicago Cubs right now. If I'm up at the plate and it's by myself, sure, I'll try to take that thing to right center. But we got a guy on second. We need him on third because we got a great speed bunter coming up. I'm going to try to get him around. I'm not going to pop one out to the outfield trying to send it to the apartments outside of Wrigley. I'll lay one down the first base line. I'll go oppo to right on a bloop if that's going to move my guy. We got a guy on first that's a speedster. Sure, I'm going to try to send one up the gap to get him to third. Or I'll just pop one over to third and, try to avoid the double play. Whatever it takes. That was Ryne Sandberg. Ryne Sandberg was a guy that is one of, I think, and I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try to tab this up in my head. But as long as I've been a baseball fan, dating back to the very early 90s when Ryne Sandberg was, again, moving towards the end of his career. Did play till 1997. I think he missed 1995, if I recall correctly. I think he took, or was it 94? I don't remember. He took one of those years off because he basically said, I just kind of lost. I think it was 1994. He just said, I kind of lost it for a second there, and he did come back in 96 and 97. So Ryne Sandberg, in the years I've been a baseball fan, dating back to the early 90s when I kind of came online and all the friends were Braves fans. The Braves were the team of the South. Therefore, I lived in the South and became a Braves fan. I have owned a T-shirt or a glove or a cap of probably, I'm going to guess, 4 non-Braves Major League players. Ken Griffey Jr., obviously one of them. I owned a T-shirt when I was in college of Randy Johnson because I thought it was hilarious that I could get away going to class in a shirt that just said the big unit on it. Actually, it didn't even say the, it just said big unit on it. And I thought that was absolutely hilarious. Plus, it's Randy Johnson. Come on, dude. Randy Johnson's awesome. I had a Griffey Jr., Barry Bonds. I had a Tony Gwynn shirt way back in like 2011, 12, because one day I did a deep dive on Tony Gwynn, realized Tony Gwynn's incredible. Tony Gwynn, one of the greatest to ever do it, that's never in that discussion. And I owned a Ryan Sandberg shirt. Because Ryan Sandberg was just the definition of, as a Ute, Ryan Sandberg was the definition of the player that I wanted to be. Ryan Sandberg was the definition of the player. And while, because it was a different era, social media wasn't a thing, guys were probably able to get away with behind the scenes a lot more back in the day than they are now, where at any given moment of your life, there's a camera within 7 feet of you at any given time. Guys could probably get away with more. But as far as I know, Ryan Sandberg was never a guy who really had any issues. Like, there wasn't a lot of controversy about Ryan Sandberg. He got done with his playing career in 1997. I watched that game. It was September 21st of 1997 at Wrigley Field. Retired that night with a career batting average of .285, 277 home runs, which was a record for second baseman at the time. It would be passed, but not until 2004 by Jeff Kent. It was also the final game of Harry Carey. It was Ryan Sandberg's final game. Sandberg did keep a low profile, went into the Hall of Fame in 2005. And if you haven't seen it, we talked a little bit about Ichiro Suzuki's Hall of Fame induction ceremony speech of the weekend. If you haven't watched that, go watch it. I listened to it legit, this is not a joke, twice yesterday. So Ichiro's Hall of Fame acceptance speech, I mean this, to me, one of the greatest sports speeches ever given. Ryan Sandberg's was up there too. Ryan Sandberg was, it almost, I think at the time, it came across as like, to a younger player, to a younger guy, I was 20. I was 20 when he went in. To a younger guy who was still like playing intramural ball. I think I just got done with high school. I thought it was very okay boomer of Ryan Sandberg, because it was a lot about, here's how you play the game, play it the right way, chastise a lot of the young players, whatever. Listening back to it now, if you haven't watched it, it's on YouTube. Go watch it. I went back and watched it. It's unbelievable. It's perfect. I'm like, I get it now. Maybe because I'm 40, maybe because I'm old, but I get it now. Ryan Sandberg was one of the greatest baseball players of my lifetime, but he was also one of the greatest advocates for baseball of my lifetime as well. Ryan Sandberg is an athlete who, to me, will be missed. RIP to one of the greatest second basemen in the history of the game, and one of my favorite players to watch, even if he wasn't a Brave, still one of my dudes. Also, my dude is Lonzo, especially when he entertains us all with the sports flash.
Speaking of the Atlanta Braves, they opened up a 3-game road set at Kansas City with a 10-7 win over the Royals. Spencer Strider earned his 5th win, going 5 innings with 3 strikeouts and 2 earned runs on 7 hits. Atlanta's offense had 7 hits, including homers from Marcell Ozuna, Austin Riley, and Ronald Acuna Jr. The series resumes tonight at 7:40. Colorado head football coach Deion Sanders held a press conference yesterday announcing that he had been diagnosed with bladder cancer. Sanders and his medical team said his bladder was removed and replaced with a synthetic organ, and that he is now cancer-free. Former Clemson Tiger Hunter Renfrow is at Carolina Panthers camp, but said yesterday he was very close to stepping away from the team before Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney encouraged him to play one more season. Renfrow said Swinney told him to make the most of the opportunity, leading Renfrow to tell his agent he would return, but only for the Carolina Panthers.
Believe it or not, there's a kitten season, and we're in the middle of it right now. If you find a tiny stray or a litter of kittens in your neighborhood, Greenville County Animal Care can help you learn what to do next. Text kittens to 864-467-3950.
What?
Text kittens to 864-467-3950 or go to greenvillepets.org. Yeah, I heard you. My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in.
I actually didn't know that, Joey B. Tony Gwynn deserves more damn respect. He, like, as an athlete. Would you guys be, I've thought about this in the past. I've just never done it. And we effectively get 12 segments a day. And off season's usually good for this. Like football season, we usually have way too much content. But I've considered this a while. Would you guys be interested in, like, one time a week if we did a segment just talking about, like, great athletes and their accomplishments, like all-time athletes and their accomplishments, like a segment a week where we just profiled, talked about the career of Tony Gwynn, Ryan Sandberg, not necessarily like Jordan, not necessarily like a guy that everybody knows and celebrates, but I'm talking about, like, great but lesser known athletes, detailing who they were, what they accomplished in their career, et cetera, et cetera. Is that something that you guys would be interested in? I would take, like, we could take nominations for it. I would spend some time going through, finding old games, clips, whatever, of those athletes and maybe pulling some highlights and whatnot. Is that compelling? A dude of the day segment. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing it once a week, like maybe on, like, Wednesdays, middle of the week, where we're a handful of days removed from the football weekend, but we still got a handful more until we get to the next one. Would a dude of the week, and by dude, dude's a genderless word for me, because we could absolutely, like, Cheryl Swoops. I'd love to do a whole segment on Cheryl Swoops. Like, is that compelling to listeners? That's my question. Because guys like Tony Gwynn, Ryan Sandberg, like, they should be talked about, in my opinion. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you, rolling through the foremost electrifying hours in sports talk entertainment you're going to find anywhere. Lonzo, I got one of the greatest compliments of my life last Friday night. I was filling in on BetMGM tonight with a young man by the name of Jared Smith, who was out in Las Vegas, Nevada. Fills in on the BetMGM network as well. And I filled in with Jared before in the daytime show, You Better You Bet. But that was the first time that we had ever worked together on the nighttime show. And when I've worked on the daytime show with Jared before, Jared is the regular fill-in host on that show. I'm the number one go-to guy for BetMGM Tonight and the weekend shows. Jared's the go-to guy for You Better You Bet, because the other two guys are also in Las Vegas. And, Andrew doesn't love to say, hey, Rob, can you work at noon after you got off the air at 10? So, cool. So when I fill in on that show, Jared takes the lead. Like, he's the number one guy. I'm kind of his color guy, if you will. On Friday last week, Jared said, Rob, I've always hosted. Why don't you host tonight? And I'll be the number two guy. I said, great. So I opened the show the way I open every show, with enthusiasm and joy, because what a kick-ass life I have where we get to talk about football and gambling and people give me money for it. It's amazing. So I opened the show And we got done with the intro, and I brought him on, and he said, dude, you missed your calling. And I said, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty good at this. What do you mean? And he said, you should have gotten in shape. You'd have made a hell of a professional wrestler. And I got to tell you, I've never been so flattered to be called fat and out of shape in my life. Like that's the best constructive criticism I've ever received.
I doubt he meant fat and out of shape. I mean, there's being in good shape, walking around, and there's being in wrestling shape, which is swole. So you're not swole. It doesn't mean you're fat. You're just not swole.
No, I am not. I am not. I am less fat, still fat, less fat. That was the nicest way anybody has ever in life said to me, you're out of shape, dude. Like, thanks. I appreciate it.
I would have been more interested in finding out that he was wrestling a cut, or is he a wrestling fan?
No, it turns out he's a wrestling fan.
Okay,
Like
all right, because some people say that, and it would be a cut, like, one of those wrestling guys.
No, he meant it in the most complimentary way of Rob Brown, the over enthusiastic radio dude. I took it as, yeah, I should have done about 20,000 more push-ups. Maybe I had a chance.
Should have told him, hey, I'm already a heel. I got a T-shirt and everything.
I will wear it next time I fill in. Real quick before we get to water cooler cheat sheet, and I'm sincere about this. We were talking about Ryan Sandberg in the last segment. Ryan Sandberg, because my little brother was a Cubs fan, I watched a lot of Ryan Sandberg games in the early to mid-1990s. And Ryan Sandberg was on that short list of guys that played for a team who was a rival. And not that the Braves and Cubs were big rivals. I think they kind of were, because with the Braves being on TBS and the Cubs being on WGN, and those two stations being, for the most part, largely accessible to everyone in America, I think they were two of the most followed teams in America. And so I think there was, even though they weren't direct National League rivals, I think there was a little bit of a rivalry that was in play there. And because little brother was a Cubs fan and I was a Braves fan, the Cubs, if only in my house, were big rivals. So Ryan Sandberg's on that short list of all-time athletes that, to me, played for a rival, and yet I still loved and respected them. Warwick Dunn with the Atlanta Falcons is on that list. Just a great human being. Luke Kuechly of the Carolina Panthers. I should call it the Kuechly list, because Luke Kuechly was a dude that had me very regularly watching Panthers games to watch that cat play, because he was unbelievable. The list of players who played for a rival, and yet I still liked them. And I'm not talking about as a person. I'm talking about as a rival, as a football player, baseball player, basketball player, whatever. Luke Kuechly was that guy. I'm like, damn, as a football player, I'm a rival of the Carolina Panthers, but I'm tuning in to watch Luke Kuechly play. I'm a rival. I can't stand the Atlanta Falcons, but I'm tuning in to watch Warwick Dunn play. Ryan Sandberg's on that list, towards the top of that list. Ryan Sandberg is a dude that I had an incredible amount of respect for, even as a kid, because I recognized what he was as a player and who he was as a player. And then, as mentioned, once Ryan Sandberg went into the Hall of Fame, and once Ryan Sandberg did his Hall of Fame speech, which was, again, if you have not seen it, or maybe you haven't seen it since then, go to YouTube and watch Ryan Sandberg's Hall of Fame speech. It's one of the greatest Hall of Fame speeches to me of all time, because he, I think, appropriately called out the negative changes that baseball was going through. And we weren't at the lockout yet. And I really do believe if there were more Ryan Sandbergs, we maybe would have avoided the lockout. I've told before, the lockout put me off as a baseball fan. I didn't come back to baseball for years after the lockout, at least not in the same way that I had a love of the game as a kid. And maybe if I was an adult, when in 2026 we have another lockout. When the lockout happened, as a Ute who loved baseball, it was the first time that I really had to process that these players don't play baseball because they love baseball like I play baseball, right? Where I'm giving up as a kid, I was perfectly happy to give up 7 a.m. on a Saturday to be at the ballpark for a game. I was perfectly happy. And on top of that, thanks, Mom. Love you. How much sacrifice did my parents have to make to give up how many Saturdays and weekdays and whatever to get me to practices and ball games and whatnot because I love baseball? It was a time that I realized these guys don't love baseball. It's their job. And as an adult, I accept that. Fine. As a kid, it broke my heart. And I stepped away from baseball. I didn't come back for a very long time. Ryan Sandberg's one of those guys that I think I can say with some level of confidence, Ryan Sandberg loved baseball. Like, he was a baseball dude. Yeah, he got paid. But this was pre the era where baseball players were getting Mike Trout contracts. Ryan Sandberg was a great baseball player. You could tell he loved the game. And if you couldn't tell when he was playing, listen to that Hall of Fame speech. So here's a question that I have for you. It is a sincere question. I would love your answer. It can be as simple as yes or no. During the break, I've come up with the idea in the past. I've just never executed it. But during the break, when we were talking about Ryan Sandberg on the stream, in the background, an idea that I used to have, that I floated, that I've never executed, came back to me. And that idea was, I have always kind of wanted, just once a week, like one segment a week, be a benchmark spot. I've always kind of wanted to do a legend of the week segment and go back through all of the sports and go back through history, recent and distant, and pick out, via your nominations as fans, pick out great players that maybe don't get talked enough about. I'm not talking about Kobe and LeBron and Michael. I'm not talking about, Jeter and A-Rod. I'm talking about great players who never get the respect that they deserve. Because I think Ryan Sandberg's on that list. And I think once a week, I would like to. If you're interested, if this is at all compelling to you, let me know. 844-326-3663 is the number. I think once a week, I would like to take your nominations for the Legend of the Week. I think once a week, I would like to spend a day or two going back and looking at old game film on YouTube, listening to speeches like Ryan Sandberg's Hall of Fame speech, just learning about a player that maybe is on that list, but it isn't really ever talked about. Joey B brought up, I brought up Tony Gwynn, and Joey B pointed out that the all-time assist leader for the San Diego State's basketball program is Tony Gwynn. Yeah, that one. That's a dude. But Tony Gwynn's never mentioned amongst the greatest baseball players of all time, even though, in my opinion, he is. So, here's my question. Would you guys be down for once a week, a Legend of the Week segment where I take, maybe on Monday and Tuesday, I take your nominations for a legendary player of any sport. I spend Tuesday, Wednesday, go back, find old film, watch them on YouTube, learn about them if they're not somebody I know about, et cetera, et cetera. And then maybe on either Wednesdays or Thursdays, we spend a segment just talking about that guy or that gal. Because I came up with a list of like 12 off the top of my head during the break that I'm like, Cheryl Swoops, Dawn Staley as a player, as an athlete, Tony Gwynn. Like, these are players that are never talked about the way that they should be talked about. Is that compelling to you? Is that something you would want to tune in from? Scotty from BMW texted the show, said Warren Moon, he's a legend, and yes to the Legend of the Week segment. Are you in for that? 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. It is way late in this segment. I don't care. I can do this. And by this, I mean this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
I'm a winner. I know how to win.
even before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Water Cooler Cheat Sheet, top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports with your coworkers. When you do, this is what you will be talking about. Let us dive right in with item number 1. We've already talked about this one. I won't spend a ton of time on it, but I do think it is probably going to be a centerpiece of the conversation today of any sports fan, specifically any baseball fan. Ryne Sandberg passing away yesterday at 65 years of age. He announced back in January of 2024 that he had been diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer, went through chemo, went through radiation, announced in August of 2024 that he was cancer-free. Unfortunately, on December 10th, he posted on Instagram that his cancer had returned and spread to other organs, announced earlier this month that he was still fighting, but that he was, quote, looking forward to making the most of every day with my loving family and friends. Unfortunately, not enough of those days. Sandberg drafted by the Phillies in the 20th round of the 1978 amateur draft. He was sent in 1982 to the Chicago Cubs with Larry Bowa in return for Ivan De Jesus. Turned out to be one of the most lopsided trades in baseball history. Sandberg would end his career batting .285, 282 homers, 1,061 RBIs, 344 steals across 15 seasons with Chicago. He was a 10-time All-Star, won the Home Run Derby in 1990, and collected 9 Gold Gloves along the way. We will talk more about Ryne Sandberg later in the show because I don't care. The dude deserves it. He's a legend. He's the idea for the Legend of the Week segment. We'll talk more about that later on, but let's get to item number 2. Bryce Harper. This one's fun. Rob Manfred has a tradition as the commissioner of Major League Baseball. He likes to travel around the league, and he likes to visit all 30 MLB teams. He said that this is his way to make sure that he is maintaining close relations with the players over the years. He conducts 30 of these meetings annually, goes to every team to talk with every team's player. He did so with the Philadelphia Phillies just a couple of days ago. And apparently, he didn't say the words salary cap, which is something that the owners of Major League Baseball are in the process of negotiating with the players to accomplish. Owners want a salary cap. Honestly, kind of so do I. Players obviously don't, because then they can't, make as much money. And most people aren't a fan of that. That is going to be a huge part of the collective bargaining agreement. Well, apparently, while visiting with the Philadelphia Phillies just a few days ago, Rob Manfred, though he claims he did not use the words salary cap, at least broached the subject somehow, at least brought it up. And it didn't sit well with the Phillies, specifically with Bryce Harper, who, according to reports and passed on by Jeff Passan, apparently Rob Manfred ticked off Bryce Harper so much that B-Harp walked up to his face, got nose to nose with the commissioner, and said, and I quote, "Get the out of our clubhouse," end quote. And then gave Rob Manfred a piece of his mind as he exited the Phillies clubhouse. Passan said that Harper was quiet for the majority of the meeting, sitting in a chair holding a bat, eventually grew frustrated and said if MLB were to propose a cap and hold firm to it, players are, quote, not scared to lose 162 games. Sources from the meeting told Passan. Harper stood up, walked to the middle of the room, got face to face with Rob Manfred, and said, quote, if you want to speak about that, you can get the out of our clubhouse, end quote. Sources then told Passan, Manfred responded, I'm not going to get the out of here, saying it was important to talk about threats to MLB's business and ways to grow the game. We're going to talk about this story later because this is not just a big story. This is a shape the future of Major League Baseball story. It is, we could have lockout number 2 of my lifetime next season. And by lockout, I mean no season at all. Like zero. Like no baseball for Major League Baseball at a, frankly, terrible time for that to happen for Major League Baseball with everything else that's going to be going on next year. You got the Winter Olympics. You got the World Cup. You got whatever hockey's going to do in the middle. Like, it's going to be interesting. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show. But the fact that the players are so heated that Bryce Harper told Commissioner Manfred, get the out of my locker room is, I don't know, spectacular or hilarious. I don't know. Let's get to item number 3. I would just briefly bring this up because we are going to talk about this in the next segment. Yesterday, it was announced, actually 2 days ago, it was announced that yesterday, Deion Sanders was going to be holding a press conference, kind of out of the blue, out of left field. Deion has been on and off, but mostly off, with the Buffalo football team of the University of Colorado through the spring, dealing with some self-admitted health issues. Yesterday, there was a press conference called out of the blue. Deion sent out a statement to local media specifically telling them that they would want to be there for this and that something was going to happen. And a lot of folks, and I will acknowledge, myself included, I thought Deion was going to retire yesterday. I thought he was going to go, you know what, health issues too much, which, for the record, totally understandable. Turns out, quite the opposite. Deion's keeping on. But Deion Sanders acknowledged yesterday, alongside his medical staff, that a number of months ago he was diagnosed with bladder cancer and had a tumor in his bladder that had begun to protrude from the bladder. And it was very serious, like deathly serious. So he went through some procedures, some tests, and Deion said there were a couple of options. One of the options was outright removal of the bladder. And that's what he elected to do. His bladder has been removed. It is replaced with a synthetic bladder. But his doctor, his urologist yesterday, said that Deion Sanders is 100% cancer-free now. And I want to say this. I know I have had some moments where I've criticized Deion Sanders, the football coach. I know I've had some moments where I've doubted Deion Sanders, the football coach. I can also tell you, Deion Sanders is a sports hero of mine. There are, in the Fortress of Nerditude, as I pointed out, there are 3 autographs in that room. 4. One of them is Roy Jones Jr., one of them is Evander Holyfield, one of them is Ken Griffey Jr., and the other one is Deion Sanders. I own one piece of Dallas Cowboys paraphernalia in my life. It is a picture of Deion Sanders as a Dallas Cowboy that he signed and autographed and is hanging in that room. I love this guy. And I got to tell you, I don't want him to go anywhere. Even if, whether he's going to succeed or fail, college football is better for having him. I am, and I genuinely mean this, absolutely elated that Deion Sanders went through this fight, fought this fight, kept his nose down, kept working, and is now cancer-free. Deion Sanders, I say this with sincerity, as a kid who loved you when you played at Florida State, who loved you, speaking of guys who played for rivals that I loved you when you were an Atlanta Falcon, loved you when you were a Dallas Cowboy, a San Francisco 49er, and Atlanta Brave. Love you as a coach. I've been critical of your coaching decisions and job. I'm not gonna suddenly shy away from that. But college football is better for Deion, and I was elated to hear that news from Deion. I actually want to play you a couple of clips from that press conference yesterday, because I got to tell you, if Deion Sanders can't get you juiced, going through what he's been going for, you just can't get juiced. We'll talk about that next. Rob Alonzo, the Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate.
Great friends.
All right, guys, quick live coming right back. Stay right there for me, please, and thank you. So yesterday was kind of a weird day. It was announced on Sunday that Deion Sanders had sent out a press release to local members of the media around Boulder, Colorado, asking them to attend a press conference that was scheduled for yesterday. And it got out that the press conference was going to be performed by Deion Sanders and his medical team. Now, we know Deion Sanders has had a myriad of health issues over the years. He's had to have his big toe on his, I believe, left foot amputated in the past. Like, he's had health issues over the years. But for him to call a press conference about one was very interesting. So about 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon, Deion Sanders sat down with two members of the media. And I have to say that, I don't want to say embarrassingly, but realistically, just because, you try to get ahead of this stuff, I kind of went into that press conference. I kind of went into that press conference thinking Deion Sanders, with his medical team, was about to announce that he had a major medical issue and that he was going to have to step away from football. I really thought Deion was going to retire yesterday.
By the way, you're not alone in that. I think a lot of people thought that.
For sure.
Yeah.
It was just because it was so out of left field, so rapid, and Deion's, for the most part, been relatively open with his health issues over the years. But for him to bring his doctors, like a team of them, to a press conference that he announced early was very weird. So I was like, I got to tune into this, man. I got to see what's happening here. So I tune in, and Deion opens the press conference by saying, a lot of y'all came here, I'm sure, expecting something was going to happen. And before we get going, I'm going to let you know, that ain't happening. I'm not retiring. I'm not stepping away. And I was like, cool. All right. Then what's this about? Like, obviously, it's got to be health related with his medical team. What is this about? Deion Sanders announced yesterday that a number of months ago, he had been diagnosed with cancer in his bladder, and that a cancerous mass found on his bladder had begun to grow and protrude from his bladder, and it had become a very dangerous situation. And after some tests with his urologist and some imaging and all that, they came up with a list of options for Deion Sanders. There were some treatment options. There were some options that were going to keep him away from football. There was one option that would allow him to return to football, but it would require a pretty massive life change. And that option was removal of the bladder and replacement with effectively a synthetic bladder. And Deion, in order to keep coaching, decided that was what he wanted to do. Have his bladder surgically removed. And he did. Now, that's all the big story, right? That's fair. But there was about 1 minute and 40 seconds within that press conference that when I heard it, I genuinely had, I think, more appreciation for Deion Sanders as a man yesterday than I ever did as a football player or a baseball player. Here's that 1:20.
It's been a tremendous journey. It's been tough. I think I dropped 25 pounds. I was like a Atlanta Falcon prime at one point. Right now, I'm still dealing with going to the bathroom. Like, it's a whole life change. Like, I can't, and I'm going to be transparent, I can't pee like I used to pee. It's totally different. I cannot control my bladder. So I get up to go to the bathroom already 4 or 5 times a night. But then I'm sitting up there, waking up, like my grandson. We in the same thing. We got the same problem right now. We going through the same trials and tribulations. We're trying to see who has the heaviest bag at the end of the night. Like, it's ridiculous. But I'm making a joke out of it, but it's real. Like, it is real, it is real, it is real. So if you see porta potty on the sideline, it's real, okay? I'm just telling you right now, you're going to see it. You're going to see the practice, you're going to see one, because it is unbelievable. Like, dozing off and waking up, on first thing I'm grabbing my crotch to see if I peed on myself. And it's just totally different. And I know there's a lot of people out there going through what I'm going through and dealing with what I'm dealing with. And let's stop being ashamed of it. and let's deal with it. And let's deal with it head on.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Like as a person, like as a human being, how much I appreciate that from Deion Sanders. When my old man was fighting his battle with cancer, and it got to the point that, you know, he was doing chemo every other week. Basically, he would do chemotherapy 4, 5, 6 days afterwards. He could do nothing. He was nauseous. He couldn't get up. Like, he basically lived on the couch. We had to carry him to the bathroom and back, and outside of that, didn't leave the couch. My old man kept that sense of humor. Like, he kept laughing and basically told us the whole time, if I'm not enjoying life, what's the point of it, right? And so that mentality is already appreciated from me. When my dad got diagnosed, they told him he had a handful of months. He made it 6 years. And he credited positive attitude and fighting. I describe myself. I know we kind of have this on-running joke about Rob's cynical and he's jaded and all that. I describe myself in my personal life, this is sincere, as a hopeless optimist, because that's how my dad described himself, and that's who I strive to be. I appreciate that out of Deion Sanders, that people going through a fight, whether it's a health issue or a private issue or a professional issue or whatever. I hope you can look to Deion Sanders and hear that message. I hope for those of you that knew him can look to my dad and hear that message and realize that no matter how tough it is, and I know that there are times, especially if you are dealing with clinical depression or something like that, it can be impossible. But to find a way to find the bright side, the positive side, and fight through that. But the thing that I appreciated even more than that was Deion Sanders saying, can we stop being ashamed of stuff happening? Can we stop being ashamed of things happening to your body that aren't your fault? Deion said, I wake up every morning. First thing I do is I got to grab my crotch to make sure I didn't pee on myself in my sleep. And I can't imagine, as a 40-year-old guy who is in relatively good health, I can't imagine what I would think that is embarrassing, shameful. And here is one of the most famous athletes in the history of not just football, but like American sports at large, saying, yeah, it's just part of my routine now. It happened. What happened that got me here happened and got me here. And this is now a part of my life. This is just what we do. He did go on a little bit, either before or after, and I don't remember in that press conference, but specifically speak to the African-American community, because there is a noted reluctance from African-Americans to go to the doctor. Like, that's a problem. And there's a lot of reasons, some institutional, some systemic, some personal held beliefs as to why that happened. But here is a leader in the football athletic community, a leader in the black community, sending a message saying, go get checked out. Like, this isn't, if I wouldn't have caught this would not have ended the way it ended. I'd rather have to check myself in the morning to make sure I didn't pee on the bed than be dead when it's all said and done. That press conference yesterday, I watched every minute of it. And yes, I have been critical of Deion Sanders as a head coach. I have been critical of Coach Prime. I have made jokes, whatever. I say this with every ounce of sincerity that I can muster up. Deion Sanders was a sports hero of Rob Brown the child. Deion Sanders is a personal hero of Rob Brown the adult. Deion Sanders he's brash. He's got attitude. He's Deion Sanders. But the message that he sent yesterday of do not be ashamed of what's happening to you and your body. Get out there and get checked. I do not care who you are or what community you're in. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. And if something happens to you, it happens to you. Quit being ashamed and go live the best life you can live. I walked away from that press conference yesterday that I walked into thinking we were about to see the end of Coach Prime before we even really got a chance to see who he was as a coach, and walked out of it going, Deion Sanders is a dude. What an absolute dude. Well done, Coach Prime. Thank you very much for that message and the way that you delivered it. That was incredible. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Oh, that's new.
Been playing for a couple weeks.
I hadn't heard it. I should listen to my own show, Lonzo. Sometimes. Stay right there, guys. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. watched Happy Gilmore 2 last night. And we brought it up on the show, but we didn't really get into it much yesterday because Lonzo watched it over the weekend. I did not. The wife and I sat down. I made us some teriyaki and stir fry on the Blackstone, and then we watched Happy Gilmore 2 while we had dinner. And the takeaway for me was it was an Adam Sandler movie. It was fine. There were some points that I legitimately laughed out loud. There were some points that I went, that's dumb. There were some points with some cameo. The cat, I wish I knew his name. I should have looked it up. But the guy who played the linebacker in The Waterboy as a Ward doing the cross-eye, I laughed like an idiot. I'm like,
Yeah, he's part of his company.
Yeah.
And Farmer Fred was the guy on the beach.
Yeah. Oh, I'm aware.
So those guys are in all his movies somewhere.
Rob Schneider made his little cameo. You can do it. It was
that was hilarious.
It was great.
Yeah.
I thought the way that they handled the story of Happy Gilmore's depression, which is what that was, I thought that was great. I thought the family element was great. Like, and if you haven't seen the movie, I don't think I'm giving away too many spoilers. I'm not going to give away like the big hook. There was one hook right in the beginning.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, there was one hook right at the beginning. And I will say this, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. There was one hook right in the beginning that I looked at Courtney and I was like, did that? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, do we keep watching it? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, let's stick it out, right? Let's see what they decide to do about that. And it turned out to be okay, right? I thought the cameos were great. I thought the golfers' cameos were hilarious, honestly. Like, none of them are.
Some of them, I mean, as far as acting goes, I guess Scotty is the best one. He has the most lines. So,
For sure.
him
and by the way, absolute legend and icon John Daly. Legend and icon John Daly.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. Like, if you went into this movie, and the reason I was kind of curious about it was Cody Decker saw it. He got early access to it somehow. He told me on Saturday. He's like, it's not good, dude. Like, don't watch it. You love Happy Gilmore. Like, because I do. Again, I said this yesterday.
By the way, this is a Star Wars and Star Wars prequels kind of discussion. People remember how they felt when they watched Happy Gilmore the first time. They expect to feel that again. They expect it to be the same exact thing. And it's not. I think this is one of Adam Sandler's funniest movies in a while.
I would not.
But he hasn't really been doing comedies lately.
I would not disagree with the second half. The Star Wars thing, we're just never going to see eye to eye on that. The Star Wars things were legitimate sequels to one of the biggest movie franchises of all time. This was a sequel to Happy Gilmore. I
am talking about the feeling and wanting to capture that feeling again.
That's fair.
If you don't, because you've aged out of it, automatically you think it's a bad movie. But chances are you've aged out of it. And you know what? Senses of humor changes. You know what? I mean, I was a big Three Stooges fan. Still am, but not the kind. I mean, I just lay down laughing because it was so funny. And now pratfalls don't get me the same way. Dry humor is more my kind of humor. I think it's. I don't know if it's maturity. I think it's more of just your sense of humor usually changes.
I agree with all of that as well. Like, Happy Gilmore was, I think, even in an era of those types of comedies. Chris Farley's Tommy Boy, one of my favorite movies of all time. Black Sheep, another great movie. It's kind of the same movie, but it's spectacular. I don't know if Hollywood will ever scratch that. Hollywood is cyclical like everything else. At some point, we will circle back around to where slapstick comedy is the main. Right now, it's not.
Well, remember what's coming out this week. Naked Gun.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we'll see how that does. If that humor is truly back, then that movie should do pretty well.
We'll find out. What I will say is this. The OG Happy Gilmore, when it dropped in 1996, Rob was 11 years old, and Rob was, like, learning how to play golf. Like, I wasn't a golfer, but it was in my atmosphere. You know, Dad would take me out every now and then to play nine, and I was doing golf lessons, whatever. Happy Gilmore was just kind of monumental for me. It was also in that vein of movies that was very popular at that time. So even if you weren't a golf guy, that type of movie was still popular and big, whatever. And Happy Gilmore created this kind of phenomenon around it. And a lot of it had to do with the silly cameos. It was Ben Stiller in that movie. It was Rob Schneider in that movie. It was all these unique characters around the story of this very unconventional guy who was trying to navigate his way to success without not being true to who he was as a golfer. And Happy Gilmore 2 kind of takes a different approach, right? In one, it's dude who is different and unique and doesn't fit in with the norms of this, and even I have called golf for my entire life a very stodgy sport, trying to fit in and find success in a world that doesn't accept him for who he is by maintaining truth to who he is. This movie is really more dealing with like Happy Gilmore's personal struggles as a person. And I do think at the point we are in society, any movie that successfully tells a story like that is going to be good because I think people are looking for ways to connect with movie characters. And to some degree, in a weird way, I did kind of connect with Happy Gilmore's personal struggle because it reflected, again, spoiler-free as much as I can, it reflected on a personal struggle that I went through a very long time ago, and to be honest, handled the same way that he handles in this movie. So I connected to it. I did not, however, go into this movie expecting, a Best Picture nominee. I went into this movie expecting an Adam Sandler movie that he made to get himself and his friends paid, because he's all but said, like, some of these movies I just make so we get paid. If people laugh at them, awesome, but people give me money, I take it. It had, I watched it for the cameos, of which there were some really funny ones. Honestly, as much as he isn't an actor, I thought Rory McIlroy was hilarious in this movie. I thought Bryson DeChambeau was hilarious in this movie. I thought Scotty Scheffler was a friggin' riot in this movie.
I don't want to give it away, but there's one certain golfer I thought was hilarious, and because because I don't remember his name. He's got blonde hair. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Will Zalatoris.
And what they did with that, I thought that was great.
I think I can give this one away because I don't think it's not gonna be a shock. It did not shock me that this was in this movie. In fact, it was one of the few things before they even started like putting out trailers and pictures and whatnot that I was like, who has to be in this. If you go back, because he broke through, kid by the name of Will Zalatoris, broke through on the tour 4 or 5 years ago. I was here already. And Will Zalatoris very much looks like Happy Gilmore's caddy from the original Happy Gilmore, the one he like chokes out after hitting a bad shot. And they make a lot of references to that. And Will Zalatoris has multiple cameos in this movie. But in the movie, he was Happy Gilmore's caddy, who then became Will Zalatoris, the PGA golfer, because in the OG Happy Gilmore, they never said the caddy's name. They just called him Caddy. So they made the joke that was Will Zalatoris, and now he's on the tour. And he's absolutely hilarious. That was one of my favorite parts in the movie. When they had the first interaction, Courtney stopped the movie, and she's like, why are we laughing at this guy? And I was like, you remember the first movie? She said, yes. And you remember the caddy? Yeah, the guy you beat up? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. I said, this kid broke on the tour like 4 or 5 years ago, and the only thing anybody could say was, that's Happy Gilmore's caddy. He made the tour because he looks just like him. And she goes, oh, does look like him. I said, yes, it does. She goes, that's not the original guy. I'm like, no, it just looks just like him. So I appreciated, here's what I think I would say I would say I appreciated. I would say that I appreciated the fact that, number one, the golfers who agreed to do the cameos were willing to be silly and stupid to fit into it.
The fact that, I heard him talking about on the Kelsey pod saying, the first one, they got like one golfer. This one, people were, everybody wanted to be on it. The fact that Jack Nicklaus is in it.
Jack Nicklaus is in it.
Yeah, and has speaking parts. Yeah.
He came on screen and I went, Jack? Like, Jack Nicklaus is in it.
That's exactly what I did, because we had just had this conversation about if a bunch of golfers walk in the room, would your average person know who they were? So as soon as I'm going in this going, let's see how many golfers I actually know.
Yeah.
And I actually said, that's Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah. As a golf fan, every time they show a guy, I'm like, it's Jordan Spieth. Oh, it's Ricky Fowler. Oh, it's Tony Finau. Like, it was great. My favorite cameo.
I recognize Tony Finau because of the ankle turning thing. So, yeah, I mean that's forever.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I love that the world of golf clearly bought into this, right? Because this was a spectacular way for golf to get itself out in front of an audience that it might not be in front of. Because I know a lot of people who are Happy Gilmore fans but aren't golf fans. They just like the movie. So this was a way, because what have we always said about the right way to grow sports? You have to play, and they make a message out of this in the movie. Number one, I want to see the best do it. I don't want to watch the second and third best. That's just the reality about us as Americans. We want to watch the best do it. And if we know, even if we know and can't really tell a huge difference, if we know you're second best, we don't buy in. This is why MLS is fighting for its life right now. Because even though it's the best players in America, it's nowhere near close to the best soccer on planet Earth. Americans are watching more Premier League at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning than they are watching MLS at 7 o'clock on Apple TV or whatever. They have like 120,000 subscribers that have added since they paid MLS $10 billion or whatever it is. Like, it's ridiculous. This was a great way for a sport, PGA and Live Tour for the record, but a great way for a sport that does have the best golfers on the face of the planet competing, but has a hard time growing an audience, to stick some personalities, showing their personality in front of a larger audience. And as a golf fan, like, I appreciate that, because there were a couple of guys in this movie. My wife she likes golf, but she's not going to watch the Zurich Classic with me. She'll watch the Masters. She'll watch the U.S. Open. She'll watch the Big Four. She'll watch the major championships. But she's not coming out of the room on a Sunday to watch the final round of the John Deere Classic. But there were some guys in this movie that showed a little personality that she's like, yeah, he's fun. And now, like, is that enough of a hook? Maybe my wife's going to watch a little bit. I'm not saying she's going to become a diehard fan, but maybe she'll watch a little more golf, because Rory McIlroy made her laugh a couple of times by just being goofy. Because, she, like there's a running string of jokes between Jordan Spieth and Ricky Fowler. Again, won't give them away because it's kind of a thing, but there's a running string of jokes in one scene between Jordan Spieth and Ricky Fowler that are very sophomoric. And I laughed my ass off because I'm very sophomoric. And the first couple of times they told the joke, and I'm laughing like an idiot. She's like, God, you're such an idiot. And I said, I know, but it's funny. And by the end of the running gag, and it didn't hurt that her boy Travis Kelce was involved too. But by the end of it, she was like, she's kind of chuckling. I'm like, ah. And she goes, well, it doesn't hurt that Jordan Spieth's cute. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm sure it doesn't, but like, you're laughing. So I don't know if it's going to be a hook. But these are the kind of things that these sports need to do. These are the kind of you know what I would be doing right now if I'm NASCAR? Hey, Will Ferrell, you down for Talladega Nights 2? We'll give you every driver on the circuit. We'll give you a tour. We'll give you all the cars. We'll let you drive our guys' cars on the track, right? Like, I jump on that, because these are the kind of things that get attention. These are the type of things that, again, I'm not saying she's going to watch every tournament now, but if I'm watching one and she comes by and Rory McIlroy's on TV because he got a couple of chuckles out of her last night, I think she's more likely to sit down just to see what Rory's going to do, to see what Jordan's going to do, because he's her new PGA crush. I get it. Like, I'm intrigued. There is one more thing I very much appreciate it. And I don't think this one is a spoiler, and I'm going to keep it a buck. I don't care if it is. Do you understand how wide, how toothy the grin of Rob Brown was when Uncle Vern made his return? I knew he was in because he did a spot on Dan Patrick's show last week that some clips started making the way. But even knowing he was in, I didn't know, like, what capacity. When Uncle Vern showed up on my TV, and in one spot in particular, Zoe, and I think you know exactly what I'm talking about, when Uncle Vern showed up on my TV, Rob Brown, big Uncle Vern guy, I mean it. I don't know how to say this without sounding dramatic. Dude, my heart was happy. My heart was happy.
When I saw him, I was like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah.
Because I knew he had retired, and so it's like, "Oh, that's cool. They got him."
My heart.
And of course, he was good. I mean,
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
My heart was full with Vern Lundquist back on my TV as Uncle Vern the golf guy.
See, that's the thing. I came away from the movie, and I wasn't the only one. Like I said, my family watched it. Dude, we laughed during the thing. It did what a comedy's supposed to do.
It did what a comedy's supposed to do. It's not going for Best Picture. We're not going to be talking about this one in 20 years like we did Happy Gilmore, the OG. But it was funny. It was fun. And more importantly, it got golf a hell of a lot of attention that it desperately needs with no board events coming up to the Ryder Cup. That's what golf needed. I thought it was great. You know what we need right now? A sports flash.
Or another major league, like Major League, 5 or something? I don't know. The Atlanta Braves opened a 3-game road set at Kansas City with a 10-7 win over the Royals. Spencer Strider earned his 5th win, going 5 innings with 3 strikeouts and 2 earned runs on 7 hits. Atlanta's offense had 7 hits, including homers from Marcell Ozuna, Austin Riley, and Ronald Acuna Jr. The series resumes tonight at 7:40. Beloved MLB legend Ryan Sandberg passed away yesterday at 65 years of age. Sandberg was drafted by... Yeah, we know it was your fault. Drafted by Philadelphia in 1978 and sent to Chicago in 1982 and would go on to hit 200.285 with 282 home runs, 1,061 RBIs, and 344 steals over 15 years. Sandberg was elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame and had his number retired in 2005. Yeah. If I get in trouble, I'm blaming you.
That's fine.
Because there's no way. I looked up, I have 5 seconds, like, I ain't getting a third story in there. And in my mind, all I hear is, what are we doing?
I gotta put that clip back on the board. Y'all stay right there. Gotta drop some sounds. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. the fan upstate, Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. Be a part of the radio program this AM 844-326-3663. That is the number to be a part of the show. We've got a couple of things that we have talked about so far this morning. Number one, we continue on our NFL floors and ceilings. We have asked y'all to help us out here. Yesterday, we opened with the teams that we cover and the teams that we care about. Lonzo and I gave our season win and loss projections for the Carolina Panthers, the Atlanta Falcons, his Kansas City Chiefs, my New Orleans Saints. We took some of yours yesterday. We had a couple of Bengals fans that chimed in, I have to say, lovingly and respectfully. I appreciate y'all being part of the Armada. I think you're very optimistic. I think the Bengals fans are very... And why wouldn't you be? Joey B is a dog. All right? We're going to talk about this coming up here in a few minutes. But the new 99 Club members dropped yesterday. Those players in the NFL who received a 99 overall rating on Madden dropped yesterday. And all of them, when you get into the 99 Club, you get this big iced out, diamond out chain. Jamar Chase is in the 99 Club this year. And a video went out on social media yesterday. A video went out on social media yesterday of Joey B rolling up into the locker room and Jamar Chase breaking the news to him that he made the 99 Club. But he doesn't really say anything. He's just wearing the chain. And Joe, clearly doesn't know that's what that chain means. So Jamar's like, I've been gassed up. Joe was like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm in the 99 Club. And Joe B's like, oh, that's cool. And he goes, what's that mean? Right? So Jamar explains it to him. And Joey B's like, all right, that's awesome, right? He's just a dude. And on top of that, he on a shirt that had a picture of a cat in a taco shell, and the shirt said Taco Cat spelled backward is Taco Cat. Like that, he's just a dork.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Taco Cat spelled backwards, Taco Cat.
Dude.
I know. Joey B is either the best undercover stoner of all time or just a dork. And I love the guy for it. I'm super optimistic. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that the Cincinnati Bengals kick a bunch of ass. The problem is they got no defense. And now we're being told Trey Hendrickson's out. Blah, 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 blah. I think the Bengals fans are optimistic. I think the Steelers fans that wrote in yesterday, of which there were a couple of them, I thought the Steelers fans were right on it. They said, I think our roofs, I believe the average between the 4 or 5 Steelers fans that reached out, I think the average was 11-6 as a ceiling, and I think y'all said 7-10 as a floor. I think that's reasonable, to be honest. Still a good team, but we got plenty of questions. And I've asked a number of times, do any Steeler fans genuinely believe that you got better this offseason? Yeah, you got DK Metcalf. That's great. You lost George Pickens. Let's call it a wash. Honestly, it might be a step down, but let's call it a wash. Yeah, you picked up Jalen Ramsey, but you had to give away Minka Fitzpatrick to get him. I think yes, you got the best individual player in Jalen Ramsey at his position, but you gave away the guy who has been the captain, the heart and soul of your defense the last couple of years in Fitzpatrick. Did you get better? You got better as far as maybe locking down their number one, but as a defense, you absolutely did not. Did you get better? The answer to me is no. So I think it's probably more likely that they are right around, if not a step back from last year. I told you yesterday, I think the Falcons' roof, 12-5. I think their ceiling, honestly, 6-11. That might be they maybe 6-11. So we did a bunch. So I'm asking for yours for your team today. If you send me your reasonable and realistic floor and ceiling expectations for your NFL team this year with the Hall of Fame game scheduled for Thursday evening, I will give you my thoughts and response to your picks. We will keep doing that. I have asked you a question, which by and large, it seems the answer is yes, but I'll let you answer. I asked the question earlier. We were talking about Ryan Sandberg. Ryan Sandberg, and I believe this, Ryan Sandberg is one of the best baseball players of all time that nobody believes is one of the best baseball players of all time, or at least is never mentioned in the conversation. And the reason that I love Ryan Sandberg is that Ryan Sandberg is the type of cat that my old man told me to be as a player. Team first. You want to win? You need a team full of guys that are team first guys. And that was Ryan Sandberg. Ryan Sandberg is also the guy that in his Hall of Fame speech in 2005 very much gave a lecture to young up-and-coming players, but did not do it in a disrespectful way, right? I think a lot of the struggle that some people have, especially people in positions of authority and education, coaches, I think a lot of the issue that people trying to teach or coach the next generation have in talking to those kids is you don't show them respect. You just, I'm the teacher, you're the student, shut up, sit down and listen to me. And that's not what today's kids are. I think as somebody who's interacted quite a bit with the next couple of generations of kids, my takeaway has been you show them respect, you treat them like a person, they'll respect you and listen to you like you are a person. I firmly believe that. Because I think with the opening up of the rest of the world to even the youngest kids, right? Like you used to be able to keep a kid locked up in the house and the only influences were like your house, your neighborhood, your friends, whatever. Now, tap of a button on a screen, they got access to everything happening in the world. They have come to the recognition that we as people believe that all people should be treated with respect. And they want that respect too. Give them that and teach them, they'll learn. I thought Ryan Sandberg did a great job of that in his Hall of Fame speech, and I thought that was phenomenal. I think Ryan Sandberg deserves more credit. So I've asked the question, are you interested in, are you guys compelled by, moving forward, starting maybe next week, the concept of a Legend of the Week segment, where I will, on Monday and Tuesday, take nominations from you, the Armada, about a legend of the game. And by the game, I mean any game, not just baseball, not just football. I'm talking basketball, hockey, soccer, tennis, whatever. A legend of the game that you think maybe doesn't get the credit they deserve, maybe isn't known the way that you think that they should be known. And we do a profile on them. I'll go pull some old highlights of that person. I will go get the stat sheet of that person, both individual seasons and careers, et cetera, et cetera. And once a week, we highlight a legend who is maybe not in that upper echelon in popularity, right? I'm not talking about Michael Jordan. I'm not talking about Kobe. I'm not talking about Alex Rodriguez. I'm talking about Ryan Sandberg. I'm talking about Kirby Puckett. I'm talking about Tony Gwynn. I'm talking about, I don't know, Mike Miller. Right? Like I'm talking about dudes that were great players, and Jason Williams are never mentioned in the discussion. Is that something you're interested in? Is that something you would find compelling? Is that something you would tune in for? If the answer is yes, we may very well start it next week. We'll talk about it a little bit further. But it is 8:09 a.m. Want to get a little bit of the audio blitz in here. Some of the best audio we have picked up over the past 24 hours. Let me start with this one. And this one works better if you have a visual, but trust me, you'll get the gist. This is Chuba Hubbard. After training camp yesterday, there was a little bit of a dust up yesterday at Panthers camp. We had our first fisticuffs yesterday. Apparently, when Chuba Hubbard was running the gap, Chuba Hubbard got hit by one of the DBs and did not appreciate it. Led to a little scuffle. Well, apparently Chuba, I don't know if it was in that hit or another hit, took a little lump to the noggin.
Where'd you get the bump on your head?
Right here?
Yeah.
Damn. I'm on here on camera with the egg log. Probably from that play. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even notice. Usually Tommy would have been telling jokes. I didn't even notice.
So a couple of things. Number one, Chuba was walking around with a golf ball on the front of his noggin. Like a bump, solid, like obvious, noticeable. And Letty's like, where'd you get that bump? And in the video, he touches it, and you see him do that. You know when you touch a bruise, even if you know it's going to hurt, you touch it anyway, and you pull your hand back real fast? He did that. And he's like, damn, I didn't even know that was there. I probably got it from that play. And she's like, you didn't know? He goes, no, nobody told me. And shout out to Tommy Tremble, because Chuba said if Tommy was here, he probably would have been making jokes about it, and I would have known. You got to love being the dude that is known for being the dude that is 100% going to tell jokes and make fun of the dude who has a giant golf ball on the front of the noggin. That's pretty solid. Like that. Michael Cole is the voice of Monday Night Raw for WWE on Netflix.
Tonight, during Monday Night Raw, I'll have my phone on the desk, and I'll have the game on with the sound down, and I'll be glancing over, and you'll see me sometimes pumping my fist when Soto hits a home run or something, and I'm doing that while I'm on the air.
We've not yet heard a hot mic moment where the broadcast has caught you going nuts for a Mets home run, but now I know that wouldn't be the best thing for you, but I'm hoping that happens one day.
And people think I'm nuts that I sit there and watch 9 innings of baseball every single night. They think I'm crazy. Pat McAfee, who's a broadcast partner of mine, obviously, Pat thinks I'm insane that I watch every inning of the Mets game, whether they're good or bad, every game of the year. And I do. Baseball is my first love.
I respect that immensely. Because I am 1,000% the same dude. 1,000% the same guy.
A lot of people, especially in radio, at least that I've noticed, do other things while doing their job. So
for sure.
I was watching the Ohio State playoff game during our Christmas special, if you remember.
I do.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have football on every Saturday night when I'm doing my Saturday show. And so I get what Cole's doing. And let's face it, as far as baseball goes, the pacing of baseball, even though it's faster, it works out really good for wrestling because in between during commercial breaks, he can catch up on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, baseball's a good sport. I don't know that there's a bad sport for it, right? Like, I think football's a great multitasking sport because unless you're like me and you're watching adjustments and audibles and formations and yada, 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 unless you're, like, deep diving it, you're going to play every 40 seconds. So, like,
you could see me fist pumping stuff if you're watching me on the stream during the show because I can do that and keep an eye up on that too. And you're right. You do what you're doing every 40 seconds. You look up, you can see a play.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a grasp of attention when you see all of that. That being said, I respect the hell out of it because me too. There is nothing that I won't do while also watching football. I have been at statute of limitations has run up.
Your point of emphasis there was a little weird.
I have been at weddings and watched football. I'm that guy. I will sit in towards the back of a wedding and I will put a game on my phone. If you get married in the fall, if I like you enough, I'll be there. But just know, if your ceremony is happening at the same time that there's a top 10 college football game, it's on my phone. If it's in a church, I'm going to hide it in the little Bible holder on the back of the pew. All right? I'm going to wedge it down in there. And I'm going to assume that touchdown Jesus will smile upon me and understand.
That's more for the hymnals than it is for Bibles. But I mean, people put Bibles in there too.
Everybody went to different churches.
I wonder if that is what's the name of that thing.
I don't know. I'm going Bible holder. I feel like if it's not named something officially, we'll have at it. One more before we take a break. Got a few more bits of sound that I want to play for you coming up later on in the show. Mike Vrabel is the new head coach of the New England Patriots. I'm actually way up on the Patriots. I got a lot of respect for Mike Vrabel. I got a lot of respect for what the Patriots are doing. I owe an apology to Drake May. I didn't think he was going to be him. Turns out maybe he is. Pretty good dude. Pretty good QB. I like the building of the offseason. I really like where the Patriots are going. And I really like the addition of Mike Vrabel as the head coach because one of the things that team I do not think had last year was like that dog mentality down the stretch. And we all know Mike Vrabel is going to bring that dog mentality with him. Plus, on top of that, Mike Vrabel, of course, became a football legend in New England. I think there is some level of importance to him to get this right.
And before that, he went to the Ohio State University.
He sure did. But I know him. Most people know him as a Patriot. I think it matters to him. And
he also played for Kansas City. I'm just going to say.
He's not yours, Lonzo. He's New England's. I'm sorry. I know you want to claim him. He's a Pat.
He's me twice. Ours twice over.
So, Mike Vrabel, apparently the Patriots, and this is not uncommon. Every team, it's high emotion. It's a violent sport. And a lot of the dudes that are at camp right now, they know a lot of them aren't going to have jobs in 2 months. So they're fighting. And sometimes that leads to actual fighting. Vrabel was telling the Pats, I want you to fight during plays. I want you to fight for your job. I want you to fight out there. I do not want you to fight. I don't want you to fight. I don't want dudes taking swings at each other and First question in his post-practice presser from yesterday. Well, this.
When you were a rookie with Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe in your first padded practice you may have gotten into a fight. Should I assume that you don't want your rookies doing that?
I don't want any of us doing that. It's a long time ago, Karen.
Can you give a little?
No.
Did you at least win?
I think I did.
So I didn't have time to clean that up as
Yeah,
much as
because
I
you
liked.
you can't really hear the question.
I mean, I could. She says, Mike, if I recall correctly, when you were a rookie with the Pittsburgh Steelers, you got into a fight at your first training camp practice, didn't you? And Mike gets this look on his face like, because again, he just gave a lecture to the guys about not fighting on the field. And he's like, yeah, but it's too early for that, Karen. And then Karen says, so I assume you don't want your rookies to fight. He's like, I don't want any of us to fight. That's great. She goes, okay, well, tell us about yours then. Can you give us details? Did you win? And you can see Vrabel actively go back in the memory bank to see if he could recall if he won that fight or not. I don't think he remembered. I also don't think he's in any way, shape, or form ever going to let you know that he didn't win that fight. Spectacular.
By the way, the rack on the back of in church is either a hymnal rack, a book rack, or my favorite, a pew book rack.
Pew brick.
Pew book. Pew book.
So we should go to a break now, like right now. Jersey Joe said, I respect Michael Cole even more now as he is a fellow Mets fan. Oh, I've known that for years, but I just didn't know my man was watching baseball while doing Raw, which is great. Texter said, Rob, Saints 3-14 floor, 10-7 ceiling. Texter said, yes to the Legend of the Week segment. First Legend of the Week, Rob Brown. I appreciate that. Your endorsement check's in the mail, whoever you are. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Pew book rack.
Yeah, no, I know. And I said pubic book rack.
Pew book. I guess I could be blamed for that because, No, I can't. It's your fault. It's all on you.
I don't tell you. All right, guys, stay right there. I'm going to go try to shake the shame and embarrassment. am not going to do a Dallas Cowboys segment on the show. I, however, am going to do another segment that once again proves to you that if your franchise is led by ineptitude, no amount of talent can overcome that. I believe that. General managers, to me, and I do believe this, general managers are more important to an NFL franchise than quarterbacks. I believe that to be true.
I know this is an aside, but I'm just curious and want you to think about this. Will a general manager be just as important in college football?
I would not be shocked if the answer in a few years is yes. Scratch that. I will say the answer to will he be as good as a quarterback is yes, because if we're really evaluating and be honest, how many quarterbacks have won a natty that you firmly believe it was because of them? I'd say like a good number, but like some, right? I'm talking about the Newtons, the Tebows, those type of guys. I think a lot of college quarterbacks, it is important to have a good one, but in the NFL, having a good quarterback is the bare minimum to get into the playoffs, right? Like very rarely do we see a bad quarterback or even average quarterbacks get into the playoffs, and ordinarily when they do, they don't go very far. This is why we know the name Brad Johnson. Average quarterback, won a Super Bowl. Like that was against the norm. But we also know what that Tampa Bay Buccaneer team was that year. It was the nastiest defense of the modern era, right? So I do honestly believe that general managers are as, if not more important to an NFL franchise than quarterbacks are. Because you can have a Joe Burrow, who's absolutely an elite NFL quarterback, but you got a bad general manager who screws the pooch around him, and we're watching prime Joe Burrow probably go to waste, right? Got him to a Super Bowl. They destroyed that team. They've done nothing to rebuild it. They're flopping around. Josh Allen and the Bills. Josh Allen is absolutely an elite quarterback in the NFL. But every year, the Bills just do very little, if nothing, to help him out. That's on the general manager. At the end of the day, his job is roster construction. That's on him. I put the failure of the Buffalo Bills to get over the hump and get to the Super Bowl, I put that on the GM, not Josh Allen. On the flip side, the Philadelphia Eagles and Kansas City Chiefs have two of the best general managers in the game right now. And it's showing. Both of those teams have been to multiple Super Bowls over the past couple of years. Yesterday, that was illustrated to some degree because two different sound bites came out. One of them is from Eagles general manager Howie Roseman. Right now, I firmly believe Howie Roseman may be the best general manager in American sports right now. Really. He got Saquon Barkley when the Giants, bad general managership, screwed the pooch. He went and got Hollywood Brown when other general managers said, no, he ain't it. We're passing on him. He added him. Him and Jalen Hurts have been phenomenal. The draft classes for the Philadelphia Eagles have been nothing shy of spectacular over the years. He's the reason that the Eagles are the Eagles. Well, Howie Roseman was doing a presser. They obviously signed all their rookies so far, but they also handed out some extensions to third-year guys. Traditionally, not exclusively, but traditionally, most rooks play 2 or 3 years, and then they get their extension with their team, or they come to the realization, this isn't where I'm finishing my career. Howie Roseman was asked about how it is, why it is, that he as a GM seems to hand out those third-year deals as quickly as anybody else.
Signed your draft picks relatively early on after that third year. Why is that important for you to do?
I think from our perspective, when people understand that when they start here, that they have an opportunity to continue here and get rewarded here, it's incredibly important.
It's a short clip, but I think it says everything it needs to say. We want dudes to know that if they start here and if they perform and they live up to what they're supposed to do, they'll get rewarded. And they'll get rewarded here. We know the value. We know what they add, and we want to make sure that they understand that they are valued and want to be a part of this. Forget that. Studies have said for years and years and years that companies that pay their employees well and that give their employees leeway to live their lives will get more productivity out of those employees. If you pay your employees the bare minimum, you're going to get the bare minimum. If you make it difficult for your employees to live their lives while working for you, don't be shocked when you don't get the best out of them. But I'll tell you right now, the 5 years I've been here, the only station I've ever been at longer was the first one I worked here for 13 years. And that, most of it was because I was either in college or taking care of my mom and my dad, helping out with my mom and dad when he was going through his cancer fight. I'm here because this place treats me well. They pay good. They treat me well. When I say I got an issue, I need to take care of it, they go, cool, go get it. Go get it done. I appreciate that. Micah Parsons. Of course, yesterday we told you that on Sunday, Jerry Jones, because it's got to be about Jerry. Jerry set up a stage on the 50 at their training camp field to do a big presentation to the Cowboys fans. What'd you think was going to happen, Jerry? Jerry in his head thought the Cowboys fans were going to be like, there's our guy. That's our man. That's our owner. That's our GM. What a dude. Instead, they chanted, pay Micah, and jeered Jerry. Well, guess what? Micah Parsons got asked about that.
Micah, how would you characterize how close you are to getting something done?
I don't know. We'll see.
Discouraged by the fact that it's taken this long?
Honestly, yeah. When you go around the league and you see these other teams taking care of their best guys, wish you had something like, that same type of energy.
Micah, how close are you to getting a deal done? I don't know. We'll see. What's your emotional state with being here and not having a deal done yet? Well, it's disappointing to look around the league and see these other teams taking care of their best guys. I wish we had that same energy. I think Micah Parsons genuinely is committed to staying a Dallas Cowboy. But does that sound like a guy who's ready to go all in? Does that sound like a guy who's like jacked up about being there? No. It sounds like a guy who is disheartened because he loves the job and he loves the workplace, but he don't love the employer.
I know how this is going to come across. I'm going to do it anyway. Do you miss the days when players feared to come to publicly speak against their owners and management?
I personally do not. No, I do not. I do not. I don't.
For fear of consequence, which apparently there aren't any?
I do not. And here's why. Lonzo, you and I suspect, you and I have both worked places where you were fearful of management, owner, whatever. Is that true for you?
Yeah, it happened.
100%.
It happened here.
100%.
So, not anymore. Our management team now is amazing, but there was a time when I thought I was done because I didn't make eye contact with a certain manager.
100%.
Trust me, I got taken into the office because I didn't make eye contact.
Now, you may tell me I am wrong here, and I can't speak for you, but I can speak for me. And I can tell you as somebody who has been in multiple stations and other jobs outside of radio where I did not maybe I liked where I worked. I'll tell you very quickly. I worked at a restaurant down in Destin, Florida years ago. I was a nobody in radio. I still am, but back then I was a nobody in radio. I was making minimum wage, which looking back at it now, like, no, that's not what should have been happening there. I was making minimum wage to work way too many hours. And because I needed more money to live in Destin, Florida, I became a bartender. And I worked at a bar. I've worked at 3 different bars. The first bar I worked at was fine. It was fine. They left us alone. We just kind of did our thing. It was fine. But I didn't really love the bar or the people I worked with. The second bar I worked with, the manager was a straight-up Class A butthole. Like, he was a miserable old sack of bleep, all right? And we were, like, you couldn't ask him for stuff that you needed to do your job because he would go. And I will tell you straight up, I was never giving my best to be the best I could be at that job. I was just giving enough to keep him off my ass. The third bar that I worked at was at a resort. And my manager, my boss, the owner was also my manager, was incredible. He was the dude that walked up every 20 minutes. What do you need? What can I do for you? How can I help? Oh, your dog's sick? Don't come in today. I'll cover your shit. Great. And I will tell you right now, that boss, the guy that said, what do you need? What can I do for you? That guy that said, you can't come in today? I'll cover your shift for you. Whatever. That guy got the best out of me. I made more money, had more fun, and was a better bartender for him than anybody else. Micah sounds like the guy who's just doing enough to keep the boss from getting after him. Now, let me play you one more clip before we go in contrast. Jerry Jones, and this clip's from a couple of weeks ago. But Jerry Jones got asked about getting the deal done with Micah. They're like, yo, he's one of your best players. He's an all-star. He's a Pro Bowler. He's a stud. What's going on with the deal? And here's how Jerry answered.
Because we signed him doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year. I remember signing a player for the highest paid at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year, Dak Prescott. So there's a lot of things you can think about, just as the player does when you're thinking about committing and guaranteeing money.
Oh, yeah, that's inspiring, Jerry. That's inspiring. If I'm Micah, I'm like, well, then what? What? Okay, if you're not going to sign me and pay me because I might get hurt and miss the time, I should demand twice what I'm asking because maybe I become the best linebacker in the history of the NFL this year. Maybe this is the year I gain my superpowers, and I'm just the greatest Dallas Cowboy of all time. If you're going to not pay me because of the potential of the bad that can happen, I should demand twice as much for the potential that good could happen. Here's the point that I'm making. When you have a general manager like Howie Roseman, who has not just got a good eye for talent, clearly he does, but also recognizes, hey, maybe we treat our people in a way that makes them want to be Eagles, and they'll stay Eagles. You can build a dynasty. Kansas City, same situation. The guys that have left Kansas City, they've left for one of two reasons. Number one, they wanted out, or number two, they did something so egregious that Kansas City's like, we can't have you connected. But the guys that have showed up there and worked and performed and been good, they get rewarded over and over and over. And here's Jerry with one of the best linebackers in the National Football League who is just asking to be paid like it. And Jerry's going, oh, well, maybe he blows his knee out. I can't pay him for that. And you got Micah Parsons who just sounds disgusting. Just sounds disgusted with what's happening. Inept ownership and management will prevent your team from doing a damn thing. Trust me, I'm a Saints fan, I know. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
There was clearly no.
You were right. You were right to do it. You were right to do it.
I hesitated for a second too. It was like,
I was like, no, you should slide over and do it. I have a bad habit, and I realized this yesterday because I was cutting up some video from the stream to make a social media video out of. And I you know how you can have habits and tendencies that you don't notice until they are pointed out to you? I have one. And one of the habits and tendencies that I have that I did not know was a bad habit, or as bad of a habit as it is when I am halfway through a thought coming out as a sentence, and then I shift to the next one. And I apparently more often than I realized will stop the end of a sentence before I arrive at it and start the next sentence.
By the way, you're not the only one who does that.
Oh, I know.
You're not the only one in the building who does that.
I am aware. I don't think I'm the only guy on this radio station that does it.
Because I edit a lot of promos for not only here, but for WORD. And some of the hosts there do the same thing. I think it's a normal talk show thing.
I think it is, too. I think it's a normal human thing. So is, for instance, I caught this a lot yesterday, I turn because into cuz at an abnormal rate. And it's not that I expect someone in my position to have perfect diction in their delivery. It's that it's once I pointed out to myself, I literally just did it. It becomes jarring to me, A, and B, and you'll sympathize with this. In audio, you can kind of trim around it and figure it out. When you're doing video, it becomes impossible because you'll be mid-sentence and all of a sudden I go from here to my head's over here. And it's like there's no way you can't cover that unless you start dropping pictures and all that. Now all of a sudden my 1 hour editing job becomes 3. Like, it's very frustrating.
Or if you just stop being so stinking animated. I mean, if you just doing this, just lean into your mic.
Yeah,
and
but you also know that my
I know you can't. No, I know you can't.
Itself in motion.
I know you can't do it, but that's.
Courtney also pointed out the other day that ever since last week or whenever it was that I did the Donald Trump, ever since I did that, she's like, because she watches the stream like 30, 45 minutes every now and then. She's like, I don't know if you noticed it, but you've started working this into saying things. When you say stuff, you'll sometimes do that. And I was like, oh, man.
Welcome into the self-therapy session with Rob
telling you,
Brown.
man. You know,
Here are all my flaws.
I have put myself. No. See, here's the thing. I've put myself back into therapy. It's good for you. I encourage everyone to do it, even if you don't think you need it. Try it anyway. I have put myself back into it, and my therapist pointed out a couple of sessions ago that I am not a self-saboteur per se, but I am the biggest obstacle between myself and self-confidence in anything that I'm doing. He's like, everyone in your sphere believes that you can do what you want to do and be successful at it, except you. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's probably accurate. That's probably fair. So we had this big discussion, and he pointed out, and I've had this pointed out, but sometimes it's nice to have a refresher. He pointed out that one of the ways to finish, to stop doing that, is to recognize, acknowledge, and admit to yourself out loud your flaws and your shortcomings, then write them down and develop a plan to fix them. So literally yesterday, I made a couple more sticky notes at the house specifically to make sure you finish a sentence before you get to the next one. Because if you don't, you turn the words "pick up my shift" into a dump button worthy moment. And you can't have that. It's not possible for one guy to drag 52 bums to a Super Bowl title. I concur.
And for
exactly.
everyone out there who thinks I'm not really paying attention, you are wrong.
I think that there are historically quarterbacks that you could point out. Dan Marino, Archie Manning. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks that you would look at and go, there is no reason that guy didn't at least play for one, other than he just was not on a good football team. And obviously we're talking about different eras in a different game, but like.
Now you can just complain about it and get sent to a better football team. I mean,
that's fair. I mean, within reason, unless you're in college. You just go, bleep this, I'm out. This guy sucks. Done here. The Rob Brown Show, back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. Be a part of the show, 844-326-3663. That's the number to text the radio program and to call the radio program. We've asked you to participate in the show today via your text messages, via your phone calls this AM. They are welcomed and encouraged, all of them. I have asked you all, for those of you that are not fans of the Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints, Kansas City Chiefs, or Atlanta Falcons, the 4 teams that we did yesterday, the 2 teams that we cover the most that are geographically relevant to us, and Lonzo and I's personal teams. We gave you yesterday our reasonable and realistic ceiling and floor expectations for those football teams. All pretty much in line with each other. Then I have asked all of you now, if you are fans of not the Panthers, not the Falcons, not the Saints, not the Chiefs, what is your reasonable and realistic ceiling and floor expectations for the 2025 National Football League season? I think it is fair to go ahead and start labeling those now. As I have told you every year about college football, this is actually, I believe, the first year I've done it with the NFL. I believe that success or failure can have some metric applied to it, some rubric applied to it at the end of the year by you, the fans. This is why we do it every year in college football. I say, what is your Gamecocks, Clemson Tigers, Furman Paladins? What is your reasonable and realistic expectation for the 2025 football season? Because if we look at if we look at Carolina, and last year, I think if I recall correctly, it's been a very long time, a year to be honest. I think if I recall correctly, last year the average expectations for the floor were, I believe, 6-6. I believe B-Bowl eligible. And the ceiling was 9-4. Or, 9-3 with a bowl win. Well, you hit the ceiling. That's great. That's upward trajectory. And I also expect that means that this year, those ceiling and floors in a couple of weeks when we do them for South Carolina will likely, on average, be up this year. But I think we can do the same for the NFL. Now, unlike the NFL, I do believe that at the college level, the fans have a hell of a lot more power over what changes and when the changes are made to a college football program. You have more power because you can quit giving your money. You can quit pitching into the NIL collectives. You can quit pitching into the booster clubs. You can quit going to games, and colleges absolutely lean on gate revenue more than the NFL does. You can quit going to games, whatever. And if they see enough drop in the cashola, the college will make a decision. Will make a change. Not true in the NFL. NFL doesn't need people coming to games. We proved that in the COVID year. Played an entire year not a fan in the stadium. You don't really need that in the NFL. It's helpful. It's obviously a boon or they wouldn't do it. But they don't survive exclusively on that. The overwhelming majority of the $432 million in straight cash, homie, that the NFL got last year, the majority of that comes from television deals, which are going up again very soon. So you don't have as much ability to make an impact, or else Jerry Jones would have been fired like years ago. But you do have at least the ability to maybe light the fuse, right? Like if there's going to be a change made in New Orleans down the line, it is not going to be because Saints fans start to protest Mickey Loomis and Gail Benson. But eventually, when all of the legacy of that stadium and Saints and all that goes away, eventually it'll start to cut out of the paycheck. And that's the trigger for change. Take a lot longer, blah, 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 blah. So the point is, I think it is important for fans preseason to set a ceiling and a floor. And if you go above the ceiling, great, tremendously successful year. If you're closer to the ceiling than the floor, great. We're where we need to be. If you're closer to the floor than the ceiling, all right, it's not as bad as we thought it could be, but we do have some room to grow. And if you fall below the floor of expectations, you got big, big problems. So I ask you to set your ceiling and your floor for your NFL team so we can analyze those. Texter said, Eagles fan here. The ceiling, back-to-back champs. The floor, 10-7 and a wild card loss. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I do think the Eagles have the talent to get back. They obviously have the coaching to get back. I will let you know my biggest concern with the Philadelphia Eagles. If there is a reason that the Eagles do not make it back this year, I'll tell you what I think it ultimately ends up being. If the Eagles don't make it back this year, it's going to be because the folks who say that Jalen Hurts is a good but not great quarterback are correct. If you don't make it back, that's why. There were a lot of benefits for Jalen Hurts, who I do think is a good quarterback. I do not yet put Jalen Hurts in the discussion with Lamar Jackson, with Josh Allen, with Patrick Mahomes, with Joe Burrow. I don't put him in that discussion yet. But he does have a ring. I think he's a very good quarterback. But I also think that Jalen Hurts was the beneficiary in the NFL last year of something that nobody else had, having Saquon Barkley behind him. When Saquon Barkley lines up in the backfield, Saquon Barkley is a threat no matter what happens with the football. If they give it to him inside, he's a threat. If they give it to him outside as a stretch, he's a threat. If they play action to him, he's a threat. If he runs an out route, a go route, a wheel route, a flats route out of the backfield, he's a threat. If they don't do anything, if they just fake him the ball and he stays in the block, he's a threat because he's a good blocker. The point here is, If you're an NFL defender lined up against the Philadelphia Eagles, you have to have multiple dudes that are at least aware of where Saquon Barkley is. And that also means you have multiple dudes that are not necessarily aware of everything else going on the football field. I think if you go back and you look at the more successful passing games of Jalen Hurts, what you're going to find is the Eagles defenses facing the Eagles rarely run much more than a too high. Like rarely. A lot of cover one. You'll see it mostly too high. Effectively, they're going to try to one-on-one your two receivers on the outside, the Slim Reaper and AJ. They're going to have two safeties up over the top. They're going to have a linebacker in the middle. But outside of that, their outside two backers are at the start of the play. They're dialed in on Saquon Barkley. They have to be, because he can run inside or outside with equal measures of success. And what does that do? It creates a world where more often than not, if Philly is sending 3, 2, 4 into the defensive backfield, at the very, very least, somebody's one-on-one. At the most beneficial, everybody's one-on-one. Or you're sat down in a zone and you're trying to just take away the deep ball with a single high zone underneath, and now the tight end comes into play because Saquon's very good with that. You add on to the fact that Saquon Barkley can squat a Buick, and any two-go situation inside of 2 yards, it's almost a layup for the Eagles. When you put those things together, I think they create a world where Jalen Hurts, by playing on the team he's playing in the system he's playing with the running back he's playing with, I think it creates a world where Saquon Barkley and the utility and power he brings to that football program, along with Jalen Hurts' thighs, open up the field for him in ways that other quarterbacks do not have the same opportunity afforded to them. And I think that played out last year. So what happens this year? What's it look like this year? Now you're not surprising anybody this year. You're not sneaking up on anybody this year. I'm going to say right now, I think next year, defense is key in on Saquon Barkley. I think they say, we're taking him away. We are going to make Jalen Hurts throw the ball to beat us. We are going to be a run-stop defense that trusts our guys down the field to be able to limit Jalen Hurts. And I think that's what happens. I think it's a step back year for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think and they're a good football team. And step back, they may still very well end up in. They could take a step back and honestly still win the Super Bowl, because that's the team that Howie Roseman has built. They're good, they're aged, they're experienced, they're locked in. Not going to be relying on a lot of rookie time this year. I think defenses lock in on Saquon Barkley. We are a run-stuff defense first when we play the Philadelphia Eagles. We are going to trust our DBs on the outside. We are going to trust our pass rushers to get to Jalen Hurts. We are going to trust that we can force more third and longs than we do third and short, so the tush push is out of play as much as possible. And we are going to say to Jalen Hurts, if you are going to get through us, you're going to have to throw over us. And I don't know if he is made to be a throwing quarterback up and until either A, Saquon is still successful despite running into the teeth of a run-first defense, or until Jalen Hurts just starts popping the rock, right? Just starts hitting dudes and making wow throws, which I don't think Jalen Hurts makes a lot of wild throws. Had a couple in the Super Bowl. Like, I'm not taking him away. He has had some great plays. But, like, the majority of Jalen Hurts throws are the safe throws, and that's fine. But they're not electric. They don't motivate that. They're not going to drive you alone.
It really bothers me that that's the one position that you have to be magnificent. You have to be showboat. You have to be all these things when what Jalen Hurts does is he just wins football games. And why is that a negative? To some people, I'm not saying necessarily to you, but to a lot of people, it's a negative.
I don't think it is a negative. What I do think it is something that is only possible to do, something that can only win you a Heisman Trophy if you have a truly great football team around you. And I do think the Eagles do. Honestly. Here's what I'll say, though. And I mean this sincerely when I say it. If I put Patrick Mahomes on the Philadelphia Eagles, I think they've won 3 in a row. I think they've won 3 in a row with Mahomes instead of Jalen Hurts as quarterback. I think they've won 3 in a row. They've been carried because they have a great football team with a pretty good quarterback. Not great quarterback, pretty good quarterback. Sorry, that I would say Jalen Hurts inside the top 10, but I'd say it's closer to 10 than 1. Good quarterback, great team. At some point, though, if your team falls into a spot, and we'll see if Nick Sirianni changes it up. If your team falls into the routine, and last year I think they did with Saquon Barkley, if a team ever figures out how to take him out of the game and put it all on Jalen Hurts, that's where I think they get in trouble. And I think the entire goal of defenses this year in that division across the NFC, I think the entire goal of defenses this offseason is going to specifically and explicitly be stop them from running the football all over the field. If we do that, we got a chance. All right, when we come back here in just a minute, we're going to get goofy for just a second because there are 2 stories that came out yesterday that I wanted to get to about 2 of my favorite athletes, neither of them American, both of them amazing people. And we'll tell you what those are when we come back here in just a minute. But before we get there, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, kick off your shoes unless you're at work. Don't do that then. You're a gross person. And enjoy this Sports Flash.
I'm always down for being goofy. The Atlanta Braves opened a 3-game road set at Kansas City with a 10-7 win over the Royals. Spencer Strider earned his 5th win, going 5 innings with 3 strikeouts and 2 earned runs on 7 hits. Atlanta's offense had 7 hits, including homers from Marcell Ozuna, Austin Riley, and Ronald Acuna Jr. The series resumes tonight at 7:40. Beloved MLB legend Ryne Sandberg passed away yesterday at 65 years of age. Sandberg was drafted by Philadelphia in 1978 and sent to Chicago in 1982 and would go on to hit .285 with 282 home runs, 282 home runs, 1,061 RBIs, and 344 steals over 15 years. Colorado head coach Deion Sanders held a press conference yesterday announcing that he had been diagnosed with bladder cancer. Sanders and his medical team said the bladder was removed and replaced with a synthetic organ and that he is now cancer-free.
The success you've already had matters.
The Money Hour of the Rob Brown Show underway now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Fan Up State. Rob Brown, the great Malonzo, couple of dudes just fighting through a Tuesday morning. And again, 48 hours from now, when we get to the final hour of the show on Thursday, we are all going to look at the clock. Because at this point on Thursday. At this point on Thursday, we are going to be looking at the clock and thinking to ourselves, 11 more hours. It's all we have to make it. And right now, we got to make it 2 days and 11 hours. But on Thursday, we will all look and we will say 11 hours. Because in 11 hours, some, hopefully most, of the Los Angeles Chargers and some, hopefully most, of the Detroit Lions will get together in Canton, Ohio at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium and kick off the NFL's Hall of Fame game. 8 p.m. on Thursday. And then you know what we got? Then we have just one more week. Because 7 days after that, technically, if you want to be technical, and I do because it takes time off the clock, I'm like Mario Cristobal in reverse. Technically, 6 days and 1 hour, no, 23 hours. That's it. I know how time works.
The buildup was there, man.
Yeah, I know.
Then always blame it on Steiner math. That's your way out.
6 days and 23 hours later at 7 p.m. on Thursday, live from M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland, the Colts and Ravens will get together. And then just 30 minutes after that, live from Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Bengals and the Eagles will get together. And then 2.5 hours after that, in a game that allows me to tell you I am for sure going to be a wreck next Friday morning at 10 p.m. from Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington, the Raiders and the Seahawks will get together. And then you don't even have to wait that long because just 21 hours later at 7 p.m. on Friday, Detroit at Atlanta, Cleveland at Carolina, and Washington at New England in a preseason game. And then you don't even have to wait a full day because on Saturday, the 9th of August at 1 p.m., New York, the G-Man taking on Buffalo. We'll get a first look at Jackson Dart in the NFL. 3 hours later, Houston's at Minnesota. 3 hours after that, Dallas at the Rams. Same time as that, Steelers at the Jags. 30 minutes later, Tennessee at Tampa Bay. 30 minutes later, New York at Green Bay. Same time as that, Kansas City, Arizona. And at 8:30, Denver and San Francisco. And then on Sunday, 2 matchups. The early slot, 1 p.m., Miami at Chicago. And we wrap up preseason week 1 with New Orleans at the Chargers on Sunday at 4 p.m. Guys, we have to make it, and gals. Guys, it's just my non-gender specific term of endearment to all of you. Armada. Pal. There we go. Buddies.
Buddy.
You need to make it 2 more days and 11 hours. And we will all, gathered with our friends and our families and our loved ones across the upstate of South Carolina, across these great United States, across the entire world. We will all sit on our couches, on our recliners, in our lazy boys, on the floor. Whatever's your thing, it's your thing. And we will watch 2 NFL teams kick off a preseason game. I love some preseason football. I'm not going to make the argument anymore. Actually, I will on Thursday. But I love preseason football, and I can't wait. All right, let me get 2 stories in here real quick. For no other reason other than I think they're fun. You seen the video of Nikola Jokic from over the weekend? It's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing. Nikola Jokic was back home in Europe, in Serbia. And we've made the jokes for a very long time now that Nikola Jokic likes his horses more than he likes basketball. We've made the point for a long time now that if given the option between hanging out with his teammates or hanging out with his horses, Nikola Jokic is, he's going to pick his horses. Well, I believe it was in Serbia. It doesn't really matter where it was. One of Nikola Jokic's horses ran in, and I'm going to keep it a buck. I know zero context of the racing question. None. I got no idea what the race was. I don't know if it was a big race, little race, local track, big track. I don't know if it was the Kentucky Derby of Europe or if it was the Grandpappy's heading on down to bet on the ponies local track for horse racing. All I know is there was a race and Nikola Jokic's horse was in it. And Nikola Jokic's horse won the race. And there is video from a distance of Nikola Jokic walking after the race out onto the track. And he is very clearly, evidently in tears of joy at the fact that his horse, his special baby, whatever it was, just won that race. My favorite thing yesterday going around on the internet was people who were taking the video of Nikola Jokic very clearly crying out of happiness that his horse won this race. And then taking the video of Nikola Jokic down in Victory, whatever the place is that the horses go when they win a race to get their prize of, I assume, sugar cubes and apples. Video of Nikola Jokic popping champagne and pouring it over the heads of his jockeys and horse racing team members, whatever positions they hold. People were taking that video and they were posting it alongside video of Nikola Jokic after winning the NBA Finals. Because if you remember the video of Nikola Jokic after he won the NBA Finals, he's just like there. Like he's not unhappy, but he's just not, he's crying about his horse winning a race. And at the championship celly, he's just like, beer's pretty good. It's spectacular.
There's a big difference between the two things. I mean, in the NBA.
Yeah, one's the NBA Finals and one's a horse winning a race.
Well, he also just worked his butt off and carried his team to a championship because you know he carried his team to a championship. My dude was tired there. It doesn't take much work to watch your horse. I'm just saying. He was tired, and then
I don't disagree, but don't you get a little bit more emotionally invested, and then because of the additional emotional investment, don't you have a larger surge of emotion and release when you accomplish something that is that much more difficult to do than when you just finish doing something that you're kind of outside looking in involved in, right? Like I had more of an emotional reaction, for instance, to the Saints winning the Super Bowl. Not that I had anything to do with it other than invest 24, 23, whatever it was. God, it was that long ago. 23 years, whatever it was, of my life watching an ass football team for them to finally get it done. That was wildly emotional versus what I should be emotional about, which is my little nephew. He loves basketball. He loves basketball because of Uncle Rob. He joined a local basketball team. And when I was home I guess last year, so he was only like 7 at the time, loves basketball because of me. Plays basketball because of me. Made his dad put him in Little League basketball because of me. And I went home on a trip a couple of months ago, about a year ago. I went home on a trip, and little nephew was playing in the championship game of his Little League, and they won. And he ran over to me and he gave me a big old hug. And that I was very emotionally happy about. But I didn't go home and pop champagne and light Roman candles and dance with my shirt off on a dock because my nephew won that one. I was all in on the team that I had poured 23 years of bad football into. I'm just saying, I get it.
Yeah, but you didn't own your nephew's team. He owns
I don't
the
own
horse.
the Saints either. I should. I'd be better at it.
He owns the horse. He owns the horse, and I don't see why. I think this is a big do about nothing. I mean, I get excited about wins at jobs, at work. And if I go home and there's a bigger win at home with something, like when my kids played all the things they did, I was more excited about that than I was anything that I did here.
I mean, sure, everybody's different. But I think it basically comes down to we have been told so long that the best, like the best are the ones who it's all that matters is that to them, right? It's that Mamba mentality, and he clearly ain't that. Like, clearly, it's just a job to him. And that's okay, because your job is not what defines you as a person. I am not defined as radio host. Lonzo is not defined as radio host. Our boss isn't defined as radio dude. That's part of who you are, but it ain't who you are.
I think that might be his official title, actually. But
it's just radio dude?
Yeah, I think it might be radio dude.
I respect it. I really do. All right, the other story I wanted to get to very quickly. Y'all, I'm not a fan of the Los Angeles Lakers. In fact, the LA Lakers are in that New York Yankees, Dallas Cowboys, Notre Dame Fighting Irish list of teams that I enjoy watching suck. Not because I have anything about the team. I enjoy the sadness of their fans. It sustains me for very long periods of time. I am not a Lakers fan. In fact, quite the opposite, with the exception of when Braun's on that team. I like to see him do it poorly. Can I tell you what, and I mean this because my Pelicans are an interesting story next year, but like they're young, building a young core. It'll be a year or two before they get there. Can I tell you what the most exciting thing about the 2025 NFL or NBA season is? You can go ahead and scratch it off, Lonzo. The Luka Doncic U tour. I can't wait for the Luka Doncic U tour. I understand that the cover image of Luka Doncic on the front page
remember, we weren't sure if it was doctored or not. Apparently, it's real.
Yeah. I am aware that the covers of magazines Photoshop up their subjects, sometimes a little bit, sometimes a lot, to present something that is more aesthetically pleasing.
Do they still airbrush, or do they just do anything
absolutely.
with that?
I mean, it's part of that's a tool in Photoshop. You can do anything. So Luka Doncic was the subject of a piece in Men's Health magazine, which is apparently still a very popular magazine. And on the cover of Men's Health magazine is Luka Doncic doing a workout. And dude looks absolutely f***ing shredded. Shredded. Now, cool, he's a pro basketball player. Remember when Luka got traded away from the Dallas Mavericks in what is going to, for many years to come, going to be looked at as dumb trade for the Dallas Mavericks, because they had a 25-year-old generational talent and they threw him away for a good but not generational Anthony Davis. Remember? And remember how we were lambasting it? And remember how Nico Harris, the GM, came out and was like, actually, guys, this trade was perfect because defense wins championships and Anthony Davis plays great defense. And we think we've got all the score. Remember how dumb that was? And remember, days after that trade, the story came out that a part of the reason that the Mavs decided that they wanted to move on from Luka Doncic was because apparently Luka enjoyed beer and hookah joints. Restaurant bars, not like like hookah bars.
I'm glad you clarified.
Yeah, I knew I would need to.
I mean, I've seen them on
TV
and
listen,
movies. I don't know.
I'm going to tell you right now, Rob Brown loves hookah and beer. I've got a hookah at my house that a buddy of mine in the Air Force brought me back from Iraq. It's just handcrafted, hand-blown, gold trimmed. It's beautiful. It is a piece of art.
It's so weird. I know you don't. It's just weird. It's very Star Wars Cantina.
I don't disagree. That's where they got it from.
Yeah.
I own a hookah that was brought to me by a friend of my Air Force back from Iraq that I break out, not often, but like once every couple of months. We'll go sit out on the back porch and smoke hookah. It's fantastic. I love it. It's great. So, part of the reason they split from Luka was because apparently he loved himself some brews and he loved a hookah, and the Mavs did not think that he was as in shape as he needed to be. Which, all right, I mean, I think we all saw Luka show up to the Lakers, and Luka definitely looked like he was carrying around a couple of extra lbs of water weight. I have also said Luka Doncic very clearly wanted to spend his entire career with the Dallas Mavericks. He had bought a house like 3 days before that, like a multi-million-dollar house. He wanted to be there.
What if he can't play now that he's all muscle? What if he lost range of motion?
Do you think for a second?
What if he lost fluidity?
Do you think for a second that's going to happen? For a second. Is there any part of you that thinks that's a possibility? Or do you, like me, think Luka's going to come out next year and average 30, 15, 10? Because I do.
Oh, that's what I think is going to happen. But if he doesn't, then who was the golfer who did that? Who got all jacked and then couldn't?
Oh, Bryson DeChambeau.
No, I think it was David Duval before that. I could be wrong, but I think so. They worked themselves up so much that they lost everything that got them to where they are. And he has never been like that. And now that he is, it could hurt his game. I hope it doesn't, but it could.
I don't for a second think it's going to. And on top of that, he's in L.A. They're going to find guys to put him on one of those tables, strap him down, and stretch him out. Like, he'll be fine.
Or maybe he had to do that so it could be in one of LeBron's production team movies.
So here's the thing. And this is kind of why I brought up the Nikola Jokic thing. Because I think Luka Doncic is kind of in that same boat. Like, I love basketball, and I want to win basketball, but I also love beer and hookah. And I'm not going to do beer and hookah as long as it's not taken away from basketball. Luka Doncic is absolutely shredded now. And I think there's one more factor of this, which is I think the Lakers have realized this is Luka's team now. This is not LeBron James' team anymore. LeBron's going to be told, you got to fit in with Luka, not Luka be told, you got to fit in with LeBron. I think Luka Doncic knows what that means. That means he's got to be that guy. Because if they start shifting all the resources towards Luka away from LeBron.
He also has to take it. I mean, because LeBron is not going to give it.
I don't disagree with that either. And that is part of the reason that I have grown somewhat in the opinion that LeBron James is going to play one more year after this year, and it won't be in LA. Because I think he's going to want one more of his stuff. We'll find out. But what I will say is this. If all the resources go to Luka, and Luka, whether it's because he took the Dallas thing personally, took Nico's comments personally, or he's just said, hey, we got like 6 weeks until the preseason, let me get ready. Like, the Luka Doncic U tour is going to be incredible. I can't wait. I think dude's going to be a 30-20-10 guy, and it's going to be spectacular to watch happen. All right. James said, James, noted Dallas fan, I believe, said, thanks, Nico. Yeah. Everybody else that's not a Lakers fan should be thanking Nico sarcastically because Luka's going to get us all next year. Scary Luka's here, boys. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Be right back, guys. Got to pull some down. NFL's Hall of Fame game is Thursday night. Preseason football is back, baby. I'll take preseason football over no football at all. So will you. Keep it a buck. NFL training camps are taking place around these great United States, preparing for next weekend's week 1 of the NFL preseason. And now the professionals around these great United States are wearing helmets, shoulder pads, and pants. We're snapping the football, y'all. The Carolina Panthers are a team that have this year elevated expectations. And I think it is fair of them and you Panther fans to have elevated expectations. You saw down the stretch last year that while it did not necessarily result in dubs, the team looked a hell of a lot better. Bryce Young, in the final 5-6 weeks of the NFL season last year, was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I'm talking both in terms of statistics and performance. What did he go, 10 tutties, no picks down the stretch? Like, he looked like a different dude. It looked like that stint on the bench was exactly what the old proverbial doctor ordered for BY. And there were still some parts that needed to get picked up. Xavier Legette had some dropsies down the stretch. We've had Rashad Beard. He'll be back with us on Friday. Rashad Beard did the research on it and pointed out that if Bryce Young would have had no dropped passes on catchable footballs, BY would have been like inside the top 10 quarterbacks in yardage on the season last year, in the final 6 weeks of the season. BY looked like a different dude. The offensive line, they invested in it last offseason. They invested in it this offseason. The offensive line, according to Pro Football Focus, is the 11th best in the National Football League. I sincerely think it is one of the best 8 offensive lines in the National Football League, and I would not be shocked if the Carolina Panther offensive line this year finishes as one of the top 6, 5, somewhere in that range, offensive lines in the NFL. But there is an X factor developing in Panthers camp right now. There is an X factor developing in the Carolina Panthers camp right now that we discussed was maybe a possibility a couple of weeks ago, but we didn't know for sure. Didn't know if the guy would make the roster. Didn't know if the guy would be able to perform to the player that he was before he stepped away from the NFL for a season due to sickness. And as WCNC Charlotte's Nick Carboni reports, Hunter Renfrow looks like a dog.
But I think the best story in Panthers training camp so far, and by next week we could be talking about it as the best story in NFL training camp, is Hunter Renfrow. He was a walk-on at Clemson, ended up being a big part of the Tigers team, won a national championship, got drafted, played for the Raiders, went to a Pro Bowl, mysteriously was absent from the NFL last year. Turns out he had ulcerative colitis. It was an illness that really hit him hard. He was working a 9-to-5 job. He was out of football as he tried to figure himself out medically. The Panthers signed him this offseason. Well, now here in training camp, Coach Dave Canales has been really impressed with Renfrow. He is a big name that stands out in a more crowded wide receiver room right now. So I think we do have some of that Coach Canales sound talking about Renfrow and really giving credence to what we're all seeing, that he does look a lot better, and he almost looks like he did a couple years ago.
I mean, it's just the Hunter Renfrow I remember. So he looks healthy. I mean, I think, everyone who's watched football over the last, 4 or 5 years remembers what he looks like, and he's really playing at top form right now.
So there you go. Nick Carboni of WCNC Charlotte says Hunter Renfrow is right now the best story in Panther training camp, and that by the end of next week, he might be getting discussed as the best story in the NFL. I absolutely am blown away by what we are seeing out of Hunter Renfrow, because I check in on practice notes from folks that are there on the ground reporting. I watch as much film as I can get my hands on. Granted, there's not a ton of it. Very limited portions of training camp practices are open to the media, so we're only seeing a little bit. The rest of what we're seeing is effectively what is released by the Panthers, and of course, they're only going to release the clips where they look real good. It is a propaganda extravaganza. But in the clips that I've seen, Hunter Renfrow looks like he did not miss a day. I broke down one clip that I saw off the air earlier. I'll do it very quickly here. But the piece of film that I saw that jumped off the page at me. Hunter Renfro's lined up in the slot. He's got a DB on him. I believe it is J.C. Horn. I could be incorrect. But he's got a DB lined up on him. And he comes out of the slot, runs a 5-yard break in, plants the outside foot, gets the chest turn, presents the numbers to Bryce Young. Now, if BY's coming to him, that ball's getting there right then. As soon as the outside foot plants and Renfro's chest turn to the quarterback, the DB's hips open up to the inside. This is what Hunter Renfrow does. As soon as the DB's hips open to the inside, meaning a reverse in direction as a method of playing catch up for the DB, out of the question. So, Hunter Renfrow plants the left foot, the outside foot, gets to the inside. The DB opens the hips. Soon as he plants the outside foot and turns in, the very next step, the body of Hunter Renfrow drops to the ground. The inside foot plants. He 180s back to the outside, sprints to the sideline, and they don't show the quarterback. I'm going to assume it's Bryce Young, but whoever was quarterbacking just delivers a missile to Hunter Renfrow, who then cuts up the field and is gone. Doesn't look like he missed a step. Now, there's a secondary part of this story, and this is what I think makes it kind of compelling from the old human interest standpoint. Apparently, Hunter Renfrow was not coming back to the league. Apparently, Hunter Renfrow was going to deal with his illness and was perfectly happy to just kind of go be a dude living his day. And then he played golf with Clemson head football coach Dabo Swinney. Now, Renfrow yesterday after practice, when kind of giving the details about what happened, he said that he played golf with Dabo Swinney a couple of weeks ago. And Dabo Swinney said to him, you need to find that joy, man. You used to love playing football. You loved to play the game. You lived to play the game. And I hate that you don't have that anymore. I want you to try to find it. Now, Dabo did try to talk Hunter Renfrow into coming back last year, but Renfrow basically said, look, dude, I'm sick. I got this illness. It's a problem that has to be treated and monitored. I'm not going to do it. Dabo said, cool, I got it. That makes sense. But after he was done with that, apparently during a golf round a couple of weeks ago, Dabo once again approached Hunter Renfrow and said, dude, you love football. You find joy in football. You will be a happier person if you go play football and find that joy again. And apparently he sold it to Hunter Renfrow enough that Renfrow said, you know what, you're right. You're right. Let's give it a shot. Hunter Renfrow went on yesterday to say that after that discussion with Dabo, when he decided that he wanted to get back into football, he wanted to at least give it a go, that he told his agent, I want to go somewhere where I fit in the offense, not where I don't fit in or that they have to fit the offense to me. I want to go somewhere that I naturally fit into the offense. And that place, according to Hunter Renfrow, were the Carolina Panthers. And that makes perfect sense. Think about what they have right now. They just drafted Teteroa McMillan. We've seen some of his camp film. Dude's a freak of nature. You just throw it within the length of a school bus in any direction, Teteroa McMillan is going to grab it. He has been coming up with one-handed catches, over-the-head catches, basket catches. The guys looked ridiculous. Over on the other over on the other side, you have Xavier Legette. We know Legette, as we talked about a few minutes ago, had some cases of the dropsies last offseason. Was that nerves? Was that too much pressure? Was that being a rookie? I don't know. And we're probably never going to hear from XL about what happened. What I do know is we have heard from XL. We have seen XL quite a bit this offseason. They got videos of him up right now in front of a jugs machine having assistant coaches firing footballs at his chest at 1,000 miles an hour like a Paul Skeens heater. And the hands look fine. Again, obviously different when you're running a 9 route down the sideline and you got a DB in your back pocket with a hand up. Still got to figure out how to catch that ball. But the hands look soft. They look good. And he looks like he's in the best damn shape of his life. And if you haven't seen the social media videos going around, XL also looks like he spent the offseason living his best life. He was out on a lake, not wanting to get into the lake water.
Yeah, scared to death of
Hilarious.
Lake water. Yeah.
There was one yesterday that I saw where I guess he took one of the other players on a four-wheeler ride, and they got stuck in a mud pit, and XL's trying to talk him through how to walk, like how to get himself out of the mud on a four-wheeler. It's amazing. I hope he fixed himself because I want to root for this guy for a very long time. But then I want you to think about the other two guys. I got Adam Thielen, who has performed above expectations as the wide receiver one the last couple of years, but he's a natural slot receiver. He goes to the slot. And now I've got Hunter Renfrow, whose entire thing is get me on the weakest DB, and I'm going to use my body, my feet, my route-breaking ability to get myself open. So what does BY have? A freak I got to get it close to, a dude on the far side who can jet and is big, a slot receiver whose primary game is find the hole, sit in it, give BY the opportunity to just throw to an open guy in the short game. And now I got a guy who, if I can create with motion, with movement, with whatever, if I can create a mismatch with Hunter Renfrow, I got a guy who's going to be able to school any DB in the league that is on the bottom half of the depth chart. Ladies and gentlemen, I am now more confident than I already was in my bet that the Carolina Panthers are winning the NFC South. And I'm going to say to Panthers fans, even those of you that are Gamecock crossovers, when the Panthers win the NFC South this year, you will all have Dabo Sweeney to thank for it, for talking Hunter Renfrow out of retiring. Because I genuinely believe, I didn't know what was the little extra something on top that might make this offense special, but I think Hunter Renfrow might be the answer to that. And he's there because Dabo said, go find your passion, go find your joy, go play football, and help that team win the NFC South. And I think he's going to. Back after this, the Rob Brown Show is on the Fan Upstate. Here's the thing, James. From what I've read and what I've heard, I think Adam Thielen's actually perfectly happy in Carolina. Like, I think he likes being there. From what I understand, I'm not saying he wouldn't love it, but I genuinely think he actually kind of likes it. Give me just a second, guys.
to the goofy stage.
Fair. Talked a little bit about the Carolina Panthers. We will run through some responses that y'all have sent on the text line at 844-326-3663 and on our live chat, on our live stream, which you can follow by searching and subscribing to the Fan Upstate on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter, giving us a follow there, or The Rob Brown Show on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. Shane says, Adam Thielen, who is 400 years old at this point. Listen, nobody has made more Adam Thielen is too old jabs than me. At the same time, I think we owe the dude some flowers because he has been remarkable, consistent, reliable, and available to Carolina during his entire run in Charlotte. And I think he's earned some respect. What I'm actually most excited about for Adam Thielen is, as mentioned, he gets to go back to the slot receiver. He doesn't have to be the primary guy who's got a route. Adam Thielen is a receiver that you do not send routes into. Run a 7, run a 5, run a 9. You don't send them. What you say is, this is the scheme we're running. And based on what everybody else is doing, here are the areas of the field that are most likely to be open or lightly guarded. And Adam Thielen's job is to find that spot, to get to that spot, to sit down, and to present an available and easy target for Bryce Young. So BY can look down the field. All right, my X is covered. Look down the other side. Oh, my Y is covered. All right, my inside guy's covered. Where's Adam Thielen? And because BY, and again, that type of wide receiver primarily only works if you have a quarterback who understands where that guy's probably going to go. Bryce Young is a successful quarterback because of two things. Numero uno, the noggin. He can look, he can see a defense, he can kind of get a gist of what it's going to be. And once the play develops, as defenders react to what offensive players are doing, he can pretty much figure out what's going to be open, what's going to be available. And if Adam Thielen is capable of doing the same thing, that means, hopefully, more often than not, Thielen's going to say, here's the spot. BY is going to say, if X and Y aren't open, that's where the spot's going to be. Sit down, present a target that has reliable hands, is low to the ground, and can get down quick with ball security. That's Adam Thielen at his best. He can run routes, but that's where he's at its best. And him getting to go back to the slot with Tedoroa McMillan on the outside and Xavier Legette on the other side, assuming XL has cured himself of the dropsies, that to me could be deadly. Like, I will say this. If BY regresses this year, if Bryce Young regresses this year and is underwhelming, I may have to go ahead and park the BY hype bus that I've been driving full speed for the last couple of years. So we'll see where it goes. James said the Panthers need to do a solid and trade him back to the Vikings so he can return home. I'm wondering how many receivers they keep on the roster. They've all been decent. And Jimmy Horn has been great as well. I agree. I also did not mention Jalen Coker. That is absolutely correct. Shane pointed out. Didn't mention Coker. I would like to point out, Rob and Rashad were the two guys that were all over Jalen Coker last year. And I'll tell you, I love where Jalen Coker fits in as the speed demon guy, right? Like, what do I have in the wide receiver room for the Carolina Panthers right now? What are we working with? We're working with Tet McMillan, your monster. Get it anywhere close, he's going to get it. You're working with XL, your big physical wide receiver. The guy that you can send into traffic and trust he's going to come up with a rock. And he can get down the sideline a little bit. You're working with Adam Thielen, who is your, I'm going to find where there's no defenders, and I'm going to sit down in the spot for you. You have now got Hunter Renfrow, who is your route running extraordinaire. A guy that, if I can utilize motion tactics, whatever, to create a world where he is locked up with the worst DB on the field, he's just going to beat him by running routes. He's just going to beat him by being special, being fast with the feet. And I have specifically Jalen Coker, who is my speed demon. He's my 5 wide specialist. He's the guy that I go, Chuba, get to the sideline. We're going 5 wide. Tet on the far left, XL on the far right, Thielen slot left, Renfro tight right, Coker somewhere that creates me a speed mismatch. I think that's your 5. I do. I think there is a roster spot for Jimmy Horn Jr. I think the roster spot for Jimmy Horn Jr. is likely as a special teams ace and a guy that they are developing and getting ready for the retirement of Adam Thielen or Renfro or whatever. I think there's a locker room spot for him. But if there is a locker room spot for him, I think it's going to be a special teams, and it's going to be developing to make him the next dude. I like that. But that's the wide receiver room that I am looking at right now. That's the wide receiver 5 I think we are going to get right now. And if we do, I think we're in a pretty good spot. So we'll keep an eye on that as we get a little bit closer to the start of camp. Scratch that, start of the preseason. We're way past the start of camp. When we get to the start of the preseason, Panthers go next Friday evening. And obviously, the Monday after that, the Rob Brown Show will go full and in depth about everything that is happening there. So, hey, man, look, in 2 more days, we are going to be like 10 hours away from football. I need you all to know. This is the voice I make when I'm like overly excited, but I know if I let myself put that excitement on display, I might blow out your speakers in your car or in your office. This is my most excited voice.
Wow, you're being considerate?
I'm always considerate.
Oh, that's
I'm never inconsiderate.
I'm so glad I was here to witness it.
You witness it every hour of every day. I am super considerate all the time. So there you go. Little bonus Carolina Panther chat for you there. Hey, tomorrow on the show, I wanted to get to this today and I blew it because we had a billion things to talk about and that's okay. But I want you to think about it over the night because I want your answer tomorrow. I got asked this question in the bro chat the other day. I got to chat with a bunch of my old fraternity bros from back in the day. This is the bro chat. Somebody asked yesterday, and I don't know where they came up with this question, but I absolutely adore it. What sports superpower would you want if you only got it for one day? Shoot like Steph Curry, dunk like LeBron, drive like Tiger. Like what if you got for one day, you could do anything you wanted with that superpower for one day? And I'm not talking about like have Tiger's golf game. I'm talking about one aspect of it. The ability to hit the long ball, hit the ball like Bryson DeChambeau, hit a home run like Barry Bonds. If the sports genie showed up and said you get one aspect of one athlete's game and you get that for 24 hours, whose superpower do you want and what are you doing with it? We'll talk about that tomorrow.
I just want to give you mine right now because it's I want Kirk Cousins' ability to get contracts.
That's a very good one.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
$38 million to be a backup.
I consider that a superpower. It's not everywhere he's went. All right.
He's right.
The first thing that is Xing today, it's amazing. I can't believe we haven't talked about this, hasn't been brought up, but it needs to be known now that today is National Chicken Wing Day.
Is it now?
It is.
Is it
A
now?
lot of places are giving away free chicken wings. Not going to give you free plugs. Look it up. Find a place where you could get some free wings.
I am going to tell you that there are probably 3 foods that stand out as the clear 3 favorite things for me. Almost everything I make is based around 2 of them, which is bacon and shrimp. Right, I made stir fry last night. The wife wanted teriyaki stir fried chicken. I made it for her, but then at the end, I threw me some shrimp on the top, shrimp, bacon, and my third is wings. If you give me a good wing joint, I will guarantee you will see me there 3 days or 3 days a month minimum. Guarantee it.
Is chicken wings one of the the food most associated with sports?
Yeah, without a doubt. That's not even a question. There is. I would argue that like even things that have a food, right? Like the egg salad sandwich at the Masters or the Pimm's Cup at Wimbledon, like even things that have a thing.
Did you say Pimm's Cup?
Pimm's, P-I-M
Okay.
apostrophe S.
All right. Okay.
The Pimm's Cup at Wimbledon, whatever, I do not think you will find. In fact, I would go so far as to say, if you are going to say like, oh, it's like PB and J that go together, you should just say like chicken wings and football. Like that's it. That's the thing. I don't know. I don't know when I don't know if ever I have gone to any level caliber type of football watching extravaganza. Tailgate at a game, Super Bowl party. Hey, buds, swing up by the house on Saturday because I got some cold beers. I don't know that I have gone to any type of football gathering that did not have wings at it. Sincerely.
Go out and celebrate today. Get you some wings.
Oh, I'm getting wings on the way home. You've booked my lunch.
All right. The next thing that's Xing is WWE Unreal.
Have you watched any of that yet? Has it dropped yet?
No, it dropped today.
Okay. I'm in. I really am.
There are 5 episodes. All 5 dropped today, and that's what I'm doing when I go home.
So this show is basically what happens at WWE to the actors, like the people, right? It's not about wrestling. It's about the people who work for this company. Here's the only issue I have, because I don't care that it's kayfabe breaking. I don't care, whatever, because I'm an adult and I know that it's all acting. So whatever, I don't care. I'll tell you what I am concerned about. I don't want it, Lonzo, to be a reality TV show where it's like very clearly hand up for the cameras. I know they're saying it's not, but they also
I've seen
said
more
that.
clips even today of behind the scenes stuff.
Again, I
showing
know
the
it's,
writer's room, showing some of the wrestlers talking about what they think should happen and finishing moves.
I know
all
it's
that
not
kind of
meant
stuff.
to be. I'm in. I think it's going to be great. But at the same time, remember, that's how they pitched Total Divas until we got 3 minutes into episode 1. I was like, oh, it's a reality show.
Yeah, I've
Cool.
never watched Total Divas, so I mean, maybe I've seen bits and pieces. All right, the next thing that's Xing is Drew Brees.
Drew Brees is Xing because of Sean Payton and Bo Nix. Yesterday, okay, this is what I saw. I'll give you why I think it's Xing, and then Lonzo will tell us why it's actually Xing.
Mine is more important.
Okay, it's his birthday?
No, nominated for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, no. Okay, yeah, that's the correct answer. I thought it was because yesterday at a press conference, Sean Payton was asked about Bo Nix meeting with Drew Brees. I guess Drew Brees went out to Denver and walked him through some stuff. And a reporter said to Sean Payton, hey, Sean, reports are that Bo Nix met with Drew Brees. And Sean Payton goes, that's not reports. I said that. I gave that out. And he said, quote, your little internet shows are ruining football.
Okay, I'm surprised you didn't pull that.
Sean Payton's grumpy old man. I did. I just didn't get to it.
By the way, you should look up all the nominees for Hall of Fame.
I'm going to,
Yeah,
because
and,
we're going to talk about them tomorrow.
And you're going to feel really old. Finally, the last thing is Kyrie Irving.
I got nothing.
All right, Kyrie Irving in a video says the world is staged with a bunch of actors, and some of those actors are not from this world.
Yeah, it turns out Kyrie Irving is still an absolute weirdo. It turns out Kyrie's still a weirdo. Kyrie just found out that if I don't say dumb things during basketball season, it's better for me. So I just say all the dumb, weird things in the off season, and here we go. And I feel dumb because I apologized to Kyrie 3 weeks ago. I was like, hey, speaking of Kyrie, haven't heard about his weirdo crap lately. Turns out, yeah, he's still a weirdo.
Or he finally got around to watching Men in Black. I mean, because that's the plot.
He
the Men in
100%
Black.
thinks that's a documentary. He 1,000% thinks the Men in Black are real. All right, that's it for us. Thank you guys very much for being here. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, it's your own fault. Come back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later.
I can't stand this team. They got no balls.
All right. Dude, it's the Panthers 4. The guys will be here by week 2. Oh, I got it.
Did we do it? Did we do it? Did we finally go over? Or did you finally go over? Yes. It's part of my fault. I shouldn't have brought up the Kyrie thing, but it's it's. I got to watch the video. I want to hear how serious he sounds.
Sean?
No, Kyrie Irving talking about yeah. I'm sure he's serious.
Oh man. All right. right, we got to go. I got to go. I don't know if Lonzo's got to go, but I got to go. Thanks for being here. You're all amazing.
I got to go over there and do more work.
Yeah, I got to go home and let my dog out before she pees on the floor again. So, tell your friends about us. We're trying to get rich and famous, preferably retired. But, we're willing to work a few more months. Thanks for being here. Have a great day. Bye.